Hello everyone and welcome into my latest unscheduled live video. Today it is the 26th of July 2025. My name is CareyHolzman and I had some spare time today and I thought, could I sit still? No, let's make another video. So I thought today, with no agenda, nothing to we've got things to review, but we're not going to review anything today with regards to what's already in the pipeline. However, I've had some other stuff coming in from Amazon that I don't know is worthy necessarily of a review, but certainly worthy of discussion. And I thought I'd share it with you while hopefully the sales are still going on. So I keep giving out my Nano KVMs to people for helping support them, and every time I give one out, I have to order another one. So I just got one in, and I thought I'd show the unboxing and how to set it up. Also, I saw Sabrent has their USB to Ethernet adapters on sale. This one is a 5 gig adapter. We do have a 10 gig network here. And I was thinking, wonder if this would be worthy putting on my laptop that I use primarily wirelessly to boost the speed at which I'm updating files over the NAS. Now the NAS, of course, the Synology 1525, we ended up adding a fifth 20 terabyte drive to that. That took nearly 4 days for that to process. And whereas before we had 4 drives that are 20 terabytes each, and you lose one of them for redundancy in case a drive fails. So a total capacity of 60 terabytes. We were using about, I want to say we're using about 40 terabytes, leaving that doesn't sound quite right. We had about 22 terabytes free on it. And when I added the fifth 20 terabyte drive, Synology Hybrid RAID allows you to expand that. And I immediately had to run the drive fix again because otherwise it returns all the drives to not being compatible. But I run the little task manager script and it's instant. It's like 2 seconds. Then I can go ahead and expand the array. That took 4 days, just under 4 days. And now our free space has doubled. We went from 22 terabytes free now to 40 terabytes free. And it's still a 1 drive RAID redundancy. So if we want to keep going, like if we get the 8-bay Synology, we could add yet another 3 more 20 terabyte drives. And I'm only picking the 20 terabyte ones because those are that $310 on Amazon. They're about what I can afford. On the other hand, if I want to go with the Exos drives, those are also $309 on Amazon, renewed. Both are renewed for the same price. So I just thought, well, I've already got the 420s. Let's put the fifth one in there. And then if we end up getting the 8-bay Synology, we'll get 3 more. And then at what point do you go to RAID 6? So RAID 6 would give you 2 failovers. Why would you want 2 failovers? Well, if it takes 4 days to rebuild or expand that array, what happens if one of the other drives in that 4 days fails? That's it. You've lost everything. I hope you have a backup. And that's a big backup if you got it full. So it's up to you to decide, what your risk is. I mean, drive failing within 4 days of another drive failing seems highly unlikely. And in our case, it wasn't a drive failure, but rather we added another bay. So we added another drive and we're expanding what we had. I've never seen it take 4 days before. But I've also never dealt with this many drives of this capacity. So the more drives you have and the bigger they are, the longer any sort of rebuild or expansion of your RAID array takes. But thank goodness with Synology's Hybrid RAID, you can just implement that, no big deal, and let it run. I still use the NAS. I've been using it for the last 4 days. It's just that it's constantly blinking and busy. And finally, when I looked at it today, the lights were all quiet. And I said, oh, it must be done. Checked my free space and it went from 22 terabytes yesterday to 40 terabytes today. All right, I'm good with that. We did finally also, speaking of RAID, get our Minis Forum RAID NAS N5 Pro. That thing is heavy. So we're going to be looking at that next week, but guess what? I don't have any drives. So I've ordered some more drives. I'm going to try those Exos drives for the sake of it. And those should be here tomorrow. And then next week, I should be able to take a look at this Minis Forum machine. And I've got 3 26 terabyte Exo drives on the way and should be here tomorrow. With regards to, well, how many drives can you have on a RAID 5? As many as like 96. But if you can imagine, if you had 20 or 30 drives all on the same RAID 5 array, how long that could take to rebuild a drive that has gone bad could take a week or longer. And do you want to be vulnerable for a week or longer that if another drive fails, you lose all of it? So the bigger the array is, the more drives that you have, the more important it is you have more than one failover, because of the length of time it can take during a replacement rebuild that another drive could fail. And then you've got that much more to lose. That's when you switch over to RAID 6. So most people would say, well, there's no rule, there's no sort of limitation. Common sense would dictate you probably don't want to go more than 8 drives on RAID 5. If you have an array larger than 8 drives, you probably want to go to RAID 6, which means you're going to lose another drive's worth of storage. So that, the parity has to go somewhere. So if you've got every drive is 20 terabytes, and I've got 8 drives in there, right? 8 times 20, I lose one 20 terabyte drive worth of storage for RAID parity restoration if any of the 8 fail. If I go to a 9th drive, I'd probably want to go to RAID 6. The problem is I won't gain any storage. If I've already got 8 on RAID 5 and I go to a 9th with RAID 6, I'm still with the exact same amount of space I had before, but now 2 drives can fail and I haven't lost anything. And like I said, the problem is when you are rebuilding the array, that if another drive should fail, if that RAID rebuild is going to take a month, which could happen if you've got that big of an array on drives that big, suddenly now that opportunity for another drive to fail during the RAID rebuild process is a very real scenario that's best covered with using RAID 6 with 2 failovers. And that means you lose 2 drives, whatever capacity they are, it's not added to your storage. That's just there as your buffer. It's your insurance. And if it's not worth it to you to have the insurance, well, you can keep it RAID 5 if you want. That's why I say there's no rule that prevents you from making bad choices. But what is a good choice and a bad choice once you get up to 7 or 8 drives and bigger? Like most of the home units you can buy, they pretty much top out at 8. But certainly there are some exceptions. There are some out there that'll take 20. And if that's the case, 20 is not ideal in a RAID 5. May not even be ideal in a RAID 6. You might want something like a RAID 5.0 or RAID 6.0, which is a combination of the two. RAID 5 and RAID 0, RAID 6 and RAID 0. But without getting into the whole Synology, TerraMaster, QNAP, ASUS Store discussion, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit today because we're going to skip around to a bunch of topics. Also, if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to address your questions. I did look up some videos watching other people build these, and nobody builds them the same. Everybody's doing it different. Some people are putting in a 240 millimeter radiator. Some people are putting in a 280. Some people are putting the fans on the bottom. Some people are putting the fans on the top. Basically, TerraMaster, Thermaltake has made this so that you can build it any way you want. There's no right or wrong way. I'm trying to match the marketing photos, and I seem to be alone in that desire. Everybody else just kind of builds it the way they go with their instinct. So there's no wrong way to do this as far as I can tell. It's just a preference. And so my preference, for better or for worse, is different from everybody else that I'm seeing. And I'm just trying to mimic the marketing photos. So I don't know why I'm the odd one out, but we will get back to this tomorrow, just so you know. Hello to everyone joining us in the chat room here today. Welcome to all of our friends here. I see Mark Gaines and Patrick T, Ron Barnish and Gilberto Colazzo. Steve Chappelle says hello. There's William Denton. Marilyn Sue Wright says hello. Mortant says hello, as well as Doman 2000. Roteva 2 says hello from Missouri. And Mark Gaines says hello from Northern Ireland. Gregory Howard joining us from Ohio. I also see John Paul Bacon saying hello. Scott says hello. And yeah, just kind of off the cuff, just decided let's just hang out. Andy W6AD joins us, says hello. There's also Jack Kugelmus from Toronto, and Jose Lopez joins us. And yeah, so a couple of things to cover. You know, when I'm working on some computers and I do a Windows reinstall, and I often, on a really new machine, something that recently was released by the manufacturer, it's not uncommon for me to, after installing Windows, I don't have any network adapter because the driver is not included in Windows 11 because the network adapter is too new. And you'll see me open this drawer and I will pull out one of several network adapters. So this one's a 2.5 gig with a Type-C end. This one is a 1 gig with a Type-A USB. And if you look on Amazon, you'll see these are very inexpensive, and why I recommend everybody should have one. If you do work on your friends' computers or you have several computers at home, these things are very inexpensive. And I just want to show you, if we come over here and go to Amazon, and I just want to look at, forget sales, let's just look at like everyday low prices. Let me go to my window capture, and I'll show you why I'm so gung-ho on these adapters and why I have so many. Let's type in USB NIC, USB network interface card. This is an Amazon Basics, all right? This is going to be USB-C, and you want to pay attention to what kind of USB end it has. Now, for me, just to get a machine up and running, I don't care if it's 2.5 gig, 5 gig, 10 gig. I mean, just get a basic 1 gig. What I do care about is the computer I'm about to plug it into, does that have the USB-C in this case, or is it only USB-A? A lot of older computers only have USB-A. Amazon Basics has their own model. And as you can see, it's $10.79, and it is USB Type-A. It's a pretty basic, simple thing. You plug it in, the driver's automatically loaded. Then you can go get the driver for the internal network card, at which point you don't need to use this anymore. 10 bucks. Well, let's say $11 with sales tax. The ones that are on sale are from Sabre. And you'll see lots of companies make these. Ugreen makes these, TP-Link makes these. They make them in Type-A, Type-C, 10 gig, 5 gig. Here's the Sabrent 5 gig adapter. That's the one I just ordered because it's on sale. It's normally $40. They have a 15% off coupon. It's Type-C only. I guess I can't click on that coupon. And then there's also a discount code for another $4 or $5 off. So it comes out to about $30, maybe a little bit less than that. So that is, I come back over here. I ordered that yesterday. And that's right here. Like I said, this is something I would use upstairs at the laptop if I want a faster connection than my Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is running at about 2 gig. This will double it, and at least. Likely we're going to have to add a driver to this. In my experience with these 5 gig adapters, and I just got this, so I haven't tested it yet, but what I'm expecting is when I plug this in, it may detect it only run at 2.5. That's what we've seen with other 5 gig adapters. However, I don't know until I use it. It may not work at all, or maybe it loads the driver at 5 gig, but I've never seen one that does that by default yet. Windows 11 doesn't provide those 5 gig drivers that I'm aware of, but you know, Microsoft's always updating Windows, so that might have happened. But if we go back one more time, because I wasn't finished over there, go back over here. They also have the 2.5 gig adapter on sale. So instead of like 40 bucks here, it's $25.99. And this one, I guess, doesn't have a discount code. It is also going to be USB Type-C. If I get back one more page, you'll see the Uni adapter here. I have one of these. This is $15.99. It's only $12.99 after the coupon. It's a gigabit USB 3 Type-A, and I use this one a lot. Ugreen is another one I use a lot. $15, 1 gig USB Type A. Anchor is another good one. This one is Type C. It's really more designed for Mac or for your phone, but that's okay. It'll still work on a PC, but oftentimes when you see that Type C connector, they may be more Mac focused, but there are a lot of laptops like Dell XPS that no longer give you a Type A USB port built into the side of the laptop, requiring you to use a Type C. And it's those newer computers that you're more likely going to need one of these on. Typically, the older ones do eventually get the drivers, but you never quite know. And to have this in a drawer where you know you can find it if you need it will pay for itself the first time you use it. This Ugreen one right here is also Type C. You can just look at the picture and see that's Type C. This Anchor is a Type A 1 gig. It's all aluminum. StarTech makes them as well. Cable Matters makes them, 15 bucks. This is why I'm so gung-ho on this. Now, this one here for $8, I don't know how this one's going to work. This has a Type C native adapter cable with an adapter to Type A. I find these to be a bit wonky. They kind of fall out. They get loose over time. But for $8, how can you go wrong? Every single one of these should just plug in and automatically be detected at the 1 gig level. The minute you start going to like this Thunderbolt 3 or something, you're likely going to need a driver. And if we go, you'll see there's several pages. It shows 20 pages of these to select. This one's $8.99. It just doesn't make any sense to me to not have one. Benfi, we've used these myself. This also has the Type C and Type A for 10 bucks. It's 1 gig. I don't know how you can go wrong with that. Like, well, how could you be possibly worried about not needing it? If you never used it, it's $10. If you just know you're never going to need the Type C, just get a straight through one here for $8, $7.50. They're very, very, very inexpensive. This one's USB 3. I think we have one of these. It's under $10. It says save 6% with coupon. So if we click on that, what's the coupon? 6% off. So that's already 5% off plus an additional 6% off, which is probably about 60 cents. That brings it down to just under $9. You just plug it in, Windows sees it, you get back to work. I mean, there's no reason for people to not have one of these if you're the kind of person that does your own reinstalls. And especially if you help friends, you know, somebody brings you a computer. So I wanted to make you aware of that because they're cheaper than ever, and Sabrent's got a sale going on right now. So if you do want the faster 5 gig Type C fancy one, this was under $30. I think it was $25. It's like $15 off. I thought, you know what? For 25 bucks, I'll add it to my collection. In fact, I might just use this and deploy it for my own personal use. But it just arrived today. The other thing that arrived is our Nano KVM, and I just love these things. Now, the folks over at Cypete who make the Nano KVM have a new version coming out called the Nano KVM Pro. And that's going to enable you to both use the computer and use the KVM at the same time. So it's got a video pass-through and some other features so that it's not just kind of one or the other. With that being said, I'll know it when I see it, you know, to verify that it works like they're saying it will. But they're saying the price of RAM has gone up and the price of the Pro is going up. And if you want to pre-order it, you've got until the end of the pre-order, which I think is till the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken. After that, the price goes to the updated price because of the cost of manufacturing. Getting those parts has gone up. The price is going up. So I'm almost on the fence about pre-ordering a second Pro because I'm afraid, what if I don't like it, you know? But then what if I do? Then I'm going to pay more and then wait again because it's, you know, shipping from so far away. Really on the fence about what I'm going to do about it. Not that I have any complaints with these. I love these. These work great. They're not perfect, but they sure as heck make my life a lot better. And anytime that I have little hiccups with them, to me, it's not that big of a deal. However, you know, they're only getting better. And that's why I wonder if the Pro version will end up, what I'm hoping is fewer hiccups. So, all right, let me get back over to the chat room here. Patrick T said, my AM5 BIOS with the new Agisa is in beta. Installs soon as out of beta for security fix. If a beta BIOS has been released to the public, it's a safe BIOS for you to use. If a beta BIOS is released to you in an email where the technical support department sends you a link just for you, that's a real beta, right? But if you can go to the manufacturer's website and they have a beta BIOS, it's really not beta at that point anymore. If they've already added it to the website as a download, they're 99.9% sure it's done. But they're just kind of covering their butts just in case they miss something. You're very, very safe with a beta BIOS that's publicly available on the company's website. It's only when they email you, a link that's not a public link, it's just for you, right? They're not sure if this is going to fix the problem. You're one of the first, patient zeros on this. That's when I'd be a little bit concerned. But otherwise, now, by the time it's already on the website, don't let that word beta mess with your head. It works a little differently with motherboard manufacturers than it does with, say, software. It's really about disclaimers, that's all. If they really thought it was going to damage your computer, they wouldn't just publicly let anybody download it. I think that's common sense when you think about it. I see Mara's handling a lot of your questions here in our chat room, such as Miko says, he's wondering, there's Office 2024 from Microsoft called the Home and Business version, but he doesn't see the Pro version. And do you know what the difference is between Pro and Home and Business? And Mara responds that the Pro version includes Access, which is a database program, and Publisher, which is obviously a publishing program. If you want to, let's see if we try, how do I do this? Let's go to Copilot, and let me share my screen with you. We could say, what are the versions of Office 2024, because they make a lot of them. So here you can see Office Home Edition, which includes these apps and who it's intended for. Home and Business, which includes these apps. Then you go into Enterprise, and then you can go into Microsoft 365. And as I recall, they had a student version, and they had the individual applications like Word, Excel, and Outlook they would sell separately. 2024 is the latest non-subscription version of the Office suite, and apparently there's 3 main editions. I want to warn people against LTSC. This is basically saying, I don't need a bodyguard, I don't need anyone to protect me. I'm going to go onto the battlefield without any armor or protection because I have my own bodyguards I have hired privately. If you don't have your own private bodyguards and you wish to enter onto a battlefield, you're just an easy target. There's a lot of bad information online, as usual, from people who don't really comprehend the depth of what they're recommending to their viewers. And this is one of them. They say, oh, this will last longer and you don't get all the updates. Again, it's just like saying you're going to go unprotected. If you have an IT department, like a corporation has, an enterprise has their own IT department, they don't just install this and walk away. The IT department maintains it throughout its use from week to week, month to month, and year to year. If you think you're just going to install this and ignore it, you just made yourself the easiest target ever for hackers online. So good for you for outsmarting Microsoft. Now, if you're going to plug it into a computer that doesn't connect to the battlefield, which is the internet, if you're unplugged from the battlefield, then you don't need battlefield protection. LTSC doesn't need battlefield protection because they have an IT department. That is their army. If you don't have an army, if you're an army of one and you want to go this way, I'm not telling you not to, but you're going to go without me because I'd like to come back again. You're probably going to make a one-way trip with regards to your identity or ransomware or virus, which you don't even realize until it happens to you. So you might be getting away with it so far, but the internet is getting more and more aggressive. More and more hackers and thieves get online every day. And the easier you make it for them, the higher likelihood you will eventually be a victim. Once you're a victim, you can come back here and explain to me what you would tell somebody that you wish you had known that I'm telling you right now, phrased in a way that you would actually understand the depth of what I'm telling you. If you don't have your own personal protection, and I'm not talking about antivirus, I'm talking about an IT department made up of dozens of people. I'm talking about technical people who understand configuration of extraordinary firewalls used, extraordinarily complex firewalls used in organizations, then you have no business using this. And if you do it anyway, you do so without me condoning it, and you're on your own. Good luck to you. I hope your luck continues. Just because you got away with not being hacked for the last 20 years, it's worse now. The likelihood has gone up. The techniques are more sophisticated, and the way they break in your antivirus can't protect you. So all I can tell you is good luck. You've been warned. But with regards to just the regular versions of Office or wanting a 365 versus wanting a non-subscription license, the subscription licenses are usually cheaper, and they'll always keep you up to date even after the 1 year expires. If you're like, I don't care about being updated, I don't care about having the latest features, I don't care about getting the next version at no cost, I just want to run Office 2024 until 2040, you're putting yourself right back in the same position again, where when your license runs out, you no longer get any updates. And once that occurs, well, let me rephrase. The non-subscription is a license that doesn't expire, but the software still has end of life, just like a Windows 10 license or Windows XP license. At some point, they stop updating it. When they stop updating it, if you use it while you're connected to the internet, the longer you do that without replacing it, is your risk. You don't understand. Clearly, if you're making that decision, you don't fully comprehend what's really at stake and how they're getting in. So if you just sign up on the subscription, you never have to worry about it. And the subscription for 1 year is cheaper than the cost of a license for 1 year license. So in any event, you choose whatever way you like. But I'm just telling you, when it comes to managing and supporting my clients, I have to guide them on a path that protects their customers' data and protects their interest to stay operational as a business. If you don't care if somebody steals your Social Security card, if somebody opens a loan or files taxes in your name and gets your refund, you've been warned. That's all I can tell you. That's your choice. I don't know why you would choose that, but if you think you're saving money today, you're going to be paying a lot more. Just give it time. Even if it hasn't happened yet, the likelihood of it happening today is far greater than it was years ago, and that continues to exponentially grow in threat unless you get off of Windows and get onto Android or Linux or Mac. Even though they're not 100% safe, they're a lot safer than Windows. Windows is a big target because so many people use it and so many people think they know so much. But the fact that they're using Windows tells you they don't know that much. Just the very fact of using Windows, in my opinion, and the same with Apple, by the way, because Apple would be even less so, says you don't really fully grasp the technology, because if you did, you wouldn't be making decisions like that. If you aren't making decisions like that, then you are grasping the technology. But the whole point of Windows is it's very easy for anybody to use it. You don't have to have a technical mindset like you did back in DOS, or like you still have to have today using Linux. So these warnings need to get to the people that are using a very basic, it's not basic, but it's a very easy to use operating system. And sometimes because of its ease of use, people are completely oblivious to the dangers that that little Ethernet cable presents every time you turn your computer on with a Windows operating system. So you don't have to become a security expert, just don't do these things I'm telling you not to do without accepting that if you decide to do it anyway, it's just a matter of time and it's going to happen. And it could be 6 months, 6 days, 6 minutes, 6 years. It's going to happen to you. Just keep it up. Your stubbornness and refusal to accept the reality will not prevent you from becoming a victim. And once you become a victim, it'll finally sink in. So that message is to those who need to hear it, and you do what you're going to do. I certainly couldn't do that to my customers. I would be out of business. LMC wants to know, can you suggest or recommend a good stand for a 16-inch Acer portable monitor? Doesn't the portable monitor come with a stand? I don't, what is it you're trying to put it on? Bruce Key said hackers don't go after individual users. Well, Bruce, you must live on a different planet, because last I checked in my 30+ years in business, nearly 70% of the virus infections, encryption, and ransomware has been end users. So hackers don't know who you are. They don't know if you're a business, and it's silly for you to have such thoughts. Hackers are looking at data and they're looking at doorways. If doorways are open and they can get in, let me tell you what hackers know. Well, they don't know who you are, Bruce. They know that what you have on your computer is valuable to you and only to you. That's all they know. Whether it's a big company that might be targeted, you're just not going to be selected because nobody knows who you are. But if you've left the door open, they're coming in. It's just an automatic bot that searches for open doors. They don't really have to do anything to take it off the leash, and it just runs forever. It never, ever gets turned off unless the FBI shuts down the servers, which does sometimes happen. One day you're going to turn on your computer, your antivirus isn't going to detect a darn thing, and you're going to get a screen that says you have to pay so much money in order to get your data back. If you pay it, they might give you the key, they might not. One thing's for sure though, the only person that really cares about your data is you. They know this. The only person they're asking to pay the ransom is you. They're not asking anybody else to pay it. So don't kid yourself. The reason you're probably under this delusion that it only happens to corporations is because corporations, especially publicly owned ones and municipalities and hospitals, have to report this to their shareholders. Home users often are shamed and will not admit when it happened. They often don't even create a police report. So therefore, I guess in your mind, it doesn't happen to home users. But if it hasn't happened to you yet, keep thinking that way, because you're just setting yourself up to become an easy target. I guarantee it, it's just a matter of time. So I'm not going to argue with you about it, just telling you that's the reality. And whether or not reality is you've come face to face with it yet, you just keep thinking that way and you will. When that happens, then you can apologize and realize how mistaken you were. So sometimes for some people, you just give them the information, plant the seed. The tree doesn't grow overnight. But if you're smart, you'll listen to me, because there's nothing in it for me to tell you false information. I don't profit if you get a virus, and I don't profit if you don't. Okay? So if I tell you diet and exercise is good for you, and you're like, no, I eat Twinkies and Doritos and I'm fine, keep doing it. I'll wait. Smoking causes lung cancer. Well, not for everyone. Give it time. All I'm saying. It's just fact. Given enough time with the wrong attitude, it's coming for you. I just don't know when. And it's very easy steps that you can take to absolutely remove or significantly reduce the statistical likelihood of becoming a victim. But if denial and just making up justification in your head, good luck with that plan, because I tell people I'm 10 feet tall and weigh 4,000 pounds, but I've also got $1 million in my checking account. But every time I check my checking account, even though I've said it 1,000,000 times, I don't have $1 million, I'm not 10 feet tall, and I don't weigh 4,000 pounds. So there's words that we speak and there's reality that we experience. I'm not interested in the words if they don't match reality. But if that makes you sleep well at night, if that's your coping mechanism is denial, have at it. But please don't propagate false information. Someone might believe you. And how would you feel if you're now responsible for them having their identity stolen? Do you have any dignity at all that you would accept that responsibility, or you would feel bad because you told them not to worry about it because you didn't know any better? So at least if you want to do that, you do that to yourself. Please don't do that to other people. Not unless you're willing to accept responsibility. That's what bothers me about it. You know, people talk with such confidence. Somebody who doesn't know any better might believe you, and that could lead to their dismay. And then what's the consequence for you for causing that for them? So if you're not going to accept the consequence, please don't make statements you're not willing to stand behind. Larry G with a $10 super chat says, this is great advice as always, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Hey, look, I'm just looking out for you. I want, there's no perfect world. There's no absolute. You can always still be hacked. We're just trying to reduce the odds. And so you're not such an easy target, which very simple things to do. And one of the simplest things you can do is change your attitude. But if you don't change it voluntarily, just give it time. You'll be forced to. I don't make this stuff up. I'm the one who gets the calls when it happens. So I would like to get less calls like that. But if people won't listen, well, at least you won't be surprised. Raj D says hello. Good to see you, Raj. There's Deem Shermersheim saying hello. Dennis KVO RTX says hello. And a gentleman named John and Kevin Doan join us. And let's see. Raj D renews membership. Now a member for 28 months. Thank you, Raj, for doing that. Mark Baggett joins us, says hello. There's Gary Tatum. Peter VZ from the Netherlands joining us. Marvin Jenkins says users need to implement security awareness regardless of what software you use, for sure. Yeah. LMC says the monitor he's got's got like the cardboard stand. Do they make monitor stands for portable monitors? Let me ask Copilot and see what it says, because I'm not aware that of a universal monitor stand. Most of those monitors, they don't have any VESA mounts or anything to secure them. So let's see what Copilot says, because I honestly don't know. I will buy a portable monitor with a stand if I needed a stand. I wouldn't have bought the monitor you bought if I needed a stand. So whatever it is, the reason you bought that is likely price, and now you're going to spend more if a stand is available, in my experience. And if you just would have bought a monitor with a stand to begin with, you would have saved more money and you wouldn't have gone through the hassle. But that's crying over spilled milk at this point, but let it be a lesson for everybody watching. This is a real live example of why I try and get what I need right out of the gate versus trying to keep adding what I want, because it takes 3 times longer and costs 3 times more if you follow that, add it as I want it. But let's just ask Copilot, because I don't really know. No one's ever asked me that question. So I appreciate your question, and let's say new topic. And let's say, is there a monitor stand available for an LG portable? Did you say it was 16-inch? I can learn to type eventually. Oh, look at this, portable monitor stand. So, okay, what this is like a cell phone holder. So this piece here springs open like a cell phone holder. It just opens a lot wider. As you can see, when you pull this, you have to pull it with your hands to push the springs out, and then you set your monitor in there and lock it down. So it does appear that they do make those portable monitor desk stand. I'm not quite sure what holds this down or keeps it from tipping. This also adds to the weight if you're carrying it around as a portable monitor. This is going to add to the weight, making it less portable. And if the idea was you want to just use it on your desk, it's probably cheaper and faster for you to just buy a desktop monitor at this point than to add the stand and go through the hassle. And the reason I say that is desktop monitors are they're under $100. So, you know, if you have the portable monitor because you want it portable, this becomes far less portable when you have to cart this stand around with you at the same time. So to answer your question, it does look like they make them. And once I saw what it is, that's what we were using to hold our big tablet over at Studio B when I was looking at the chat that way. It's the same thing. So there you go. All right, well, thank you for the question, and I hope that guides you. Kevin Doan joins us and says hello. Welcome into Kevin. You guys are talking about some software. I don't know what you're talking about. PDF software? Barry Klein joins us and says hello. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what this other conversation is about. I guess I missed out on it. I'll do my best, like I said, to try and provide answers and, more importantly, some guidance. Because sometimes the questions are avoidable. Like if somebody's asking, how do I put out a fire? I want to know what started the fire. What kind of fire are we putting out? Grease fire, electrical fire, battery fire, right? So by going backwards, we can understand where it all went wrong, what it is we're talking about, and then the proper way to do what you can to put that fire out. I'm using the word fire metaphorically. And then what we can do to prevent that from ever happening again by instituting better practices and changing our perspective in our, it's usually something people will very quickly respond to. But when you talk about avoidance, they're very quickly to dismiss avoidance because, well, it hasn't happened to me. Oh, well, good luck with that. Just give it time. Death hasn't happened to you either, or you wouldn't be here right now. I'm just trying to make a point. Understand why I'm telling you what I'm telling you. Because if you're not getting this, you probably won't see any benefit from my videos. I'm here to offer help. So if you don't need help, there's probably not much you can get out of these videos I make. I don't need your help. Okay, well, that's what we're here for, though. So I guess just enjoy the show quietly. I don't know what to say. Looks like our friends Mike's Unboxing had a video today, and Doug Betts did his video today as well. So good to see those guys. Looks like everybody's doing well. Let me refresh my page over here. It looks like I'm running really behind. There it is. I saw our friend Scott Merrill, Ask Your Computer Guy, was showing how to create a Windows installation media using Rufus. And when he was last here, I wanted to show him how to do it. And he said, oh, I already know how. And then he went and he showed how to do it. And in my opinion, he did not do it the way that I would suggest. He didn't even mention that there was a way to do it the way I suggest, because he never allowed me the opportunity to show him. So at least if he had seen it, he could have taken that under consideration before he made his video. So, you know, he doesn't need my permission or my approval to post his videos, and there's nothing wrong with his video, and I want to be clear about that. But he's taken a completely different approach that I feel is far more difficult than it needs to be. And the reason we got here is he made a previous video about installing Windows 11 on unsupported hardware that I think is a profoundly foolish idea. But if he wants to make that video and show people how to do it, he does warn them it's not a good idea. But I'm going to show you how, because let's face it, people are going to do what they're going to do, so at least show them a safe way to do it. And he went about this whole long video, and I said, you know, you should just use Rufus. It would be a lot easier. Let me show you. He already know how to use it. Then he makes the video on Rufus, and it's way more complicated, in my opinion. It could be really simplified to a 5-minute video. I know that sounds rich coming from a guy like me who makes 3- and 4-hour videos, but maybe I just demonstrate it for you right here. Let me grab a little mini PC or something and set it up and show you just how easy Rufus makes making your Windows 11, getting your Windows 11, and configuring it so you don't need the online account. You can turn off decryption on the Windows 11 home, or encryption, as well as turn off the security checks, which I don't recommend. But you know, you're adults, you take responsibility for your decisions. Let me grab somewhere around here. I have a mini PC to grab. Here we go. We'll grab this one, whatever this is. And let's just do it live because it's so easy. Let me just move all this out of the way for right now so I have some space. Is this my Soyan? So that was the other thing I was going to talk to you about, is rebuilding, reinstalling Windows is super easy. I've had some people that are having computer problems. I go, look, why don't you just reinstall Windows? And then they don't. They do. I don't know why they ask me for my advice and then they don't follow my advice. That's frustrating. It's okay to not ask. And if I suggest a solution and then you come back and tell me you did something else completely different that still doesn't work, okay, I'll repeat myself again, I guess. Do the way I suggested. So for example, if you bought one of these, these came with Linux on them, you could download Rufus and make a Windows 11 media installer. Install Windows 11 on this. And then you just need the drivers. There's like 3 drivers that are missing that are not part of the Windows installer. And you could just download the drivers from any N100 based mini computer. It doesn't matter who makes it. These people don't have a website, so good luck. But I go to Minis Forum, I'll download any model of PC that has an N100. They'll have the driver package and just put that driver package on here because all the N100s basically use the same drivers, mostly. So I'm all about getting it done quick, even though these videos do take a while. It's all of the explanation that goes into how and why and demonstration. But these could easily be made into 3-minute TikTok videos. So this is an example, right? Just getting all this set up and plugged in. It takes a few minutes, but it's also fully transparent and full disclosure so that, you know, the 3-minute video will not take you 3 minutes. It's going to take you closer to a half an hour or longer. That's true with almost every 3-minute video you'll ever watch. There's always exceptions, but I'm just saying with all the editing, it just takes out the realism of what you're really going to endure. So by keeping these videos in real time without those editing, doesn't change the fact it's a 3-minute TikTok video. TikTok videos are not transparent because you can't be in 3 minutes. Not usually. So I need a keyboard and a mouse. We'll turn these on, plug in our USB. That'll go there. And I need an HDMI cable, which I have probably under my feet. Sneaky little guy, where are you? well, this is an Ethernet cable. We're going to need that because we're going to get on the internet to download Rufus. Little teeny tiny program that's completely free, completely safe. This one right here, I think, is my HDMI that I'm looking for. Okay. With that, let's turn this bad boy on. And then I need a blank flash drive to do this. 8 gigs or larger, preferably no bigger than 32, but depends how old your system is that you're doing this to. I prefer not to waste a flash drive. And the smallest you can use for this will be 8 gigs. So down in this drawer somewhere that flew to the back, I've got some smaller flash drives here. This is a SanDisk, something I can't read. This is a 16. I'm going to go ahead and plug the 16 in right now. There we go. Now let's switch over to this computer. This should have booted to Windows by now, I would think. Don't mind me as I'm crowding myself out here. Let's go with this over here, I suppose. Just set that precariously on the edge. What could happen? All right, let me go over to my desktop here. Is that working? That's working. Good. Okay, so you should see everything I'm seeing now. And I'll just show you how easy this is. It's incredibly simple. You don't have to worry about the whole Shift F10 and all the crying and whining about, oh, they're getting rid of bypass NRO. Come on, guys, you got to be smarter than this. You can't just follow the sheep. I can't emphasize enough for you to think for yourself and stop taking all the BS. Stop being led by the nose. Stop being manipulated. If people want to sit there and whine and cry, they've got nothing else better to do. That's me whining and crying about people whining and crying. You don't have to accept that as your reality. They've chosen to accept that, and they've not chosen to educate themselves. So they're just going out there propagating the hard way to go about installing Windows 11 as though it's the only way. And this is so upsetting. I mean, if you want to work harder than you need to, you know, knock yourself out. But let's just type in Rufus up here, because I'm going to show you real time how this is done and why it's not a big deal. And it'll never be a big deal. There's nothing Microsoft will change on Windows 11 that will stop this from working. So we're going to grab the latest version of Rufus. Now bear in mind, Rufus gets updates, and it's changed a lot over the years. The latest version right now looks like it's 4.9, and then there's 4.9p. That means it's the portable version. There are only 2 meg downloads. They're really, really tiny. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't install regardless. Obviously, if you have an ARM chip that's different, we're not here to help people with the ARM processors because we're here to help the majority of computer owners. And we're not an ARM channel. We're not a Linux channel. We're not a Mac channel. If that's what you're looking for, you know, go to those channels. Now over here, 4.9p, I like the portable version. I'm going to download that. Now this is an advertisement. Don't click that. Just get rid of it. Once you get rid of it, the download should start. And that's the file. That's all you need for this whole process. Just this. Do I need to say it again? This 2 meg file is all you need. It's no more difficult than opening this file that you've downloaded. No install is necessary. Let's go ahead and close the browser because we don't need any of this anymore. We are now 100% on our own with no other additions or changes. Do you want Rufus to check for application updates? Yes, I do. So here's where a lot of people get it wrong. A lot of people may be looking to change any of the information under here, but this will all be defined by your ISO. But we don't have an ISO. Well, don't get ahead of me there, Junior. All you need to do is follow these simple steps and nothing more and nothing less. And these are the steps I'm about to show you. Now it does say Rufus has found an updated version of database files. Yes, let's grab those because we're going to need those. Now if you look up here where it says select, this is where we're starting. Well, actually, we have our USB drive in. That's auto detected right here. So I suppose we really need to start and make sure that we've got our USB drive installed and that we've got the right drive selected. Hopefully you don't have multiple USB drives installed at the same time, and then you got to really be careful over choosing the right one. My advice is only plug in one USB drive so you can't screw this up. Then go over here where it says select, and even though this shows it as being one large button, it's actually two buttons. There's the select button and there's a down arrow button. Why these aren't separated? The creator of Rufus told me he didn't want to dumb it down. Like, his attitude is, if I have to dumb this down for you, you should not be using this product. I disagree with him. I completely disagree, so I'm here to explain it to you since he can't be bothered. This down arrow right here has an option for download. Click on that. That loads that updated database. Whether or not your database is updated or not isn't really a key to this component, but it's always a good idea. Make sure you've got the latest. If it never pops up and asks you, then either you're not online or there's no update, right? Depending on the version of Rufus you're using. So when we select to download, what it needs to do is it goes out to the Rufus database, which is not the fastest database in the world. And at this point, it still hasn't done anything. So I'm going to just be impatient and tell it, oh, we're on download. Never mind. After we selected download, see how we have the checkbox there? Then you hit the download button. This doesn't say select anymore. This is why I say Rufus could be made a lot easier. Just hit the download button. Download what? See right here, it's downloading that database. So just give it a second. And it's going to offer you some downloads here. And hey, do you want Windows 11? Do you want Windows 10? Or do you want to create a UEFI shell bootable USB? I want Windows 11. Then hit continue, and it's going to break this down. What version? The latest 24H2. Continue. What edition? Home, Pro, Education? That's it. You don't have any other choices. That covers all three, depending on your activation code. Continue. Now here's a part a lot of Americans screw up. It's going to ask us what language we want, but we fail in America to think that anybody speaks any other kind of language, a version of English than American. British English is very different in many ways to American English, and international English is very different for American English. So if you select the default, that's going to pop up here in a second, you're going to see it defaults to English International. And apparently, see what it's doing here is it's isolating the version of download for us, and it timed out. I've never seen it do that before, but it can get very busy, especially since we're live and other people may be following along and creating a lot of traffic. Rufus is it's kind of a home hobby project, so it's not going to have the resources of big corporate servers. So you guys need to understand that if you want to do it the way I'm demonstrating. So it's going to come up next. It's going to ask us what language we want, and we want the next version of English that's above international, at least those of us that are in the United States. Or Windows is going to look a little different than what we're accustomed to. And you'll say, damn Carey and damn Rufus, I knew it wasn't the same. Now, you don't have to get your ISO image this way. This is just a way that you can do everything from within Rufus. Now, if we're having trouble, essentially, what it's supposed to do, if it wasn't so busy, is it'll come up and say, what language do you want? We're going to select English United States, and then it's going to download the ISO image for us that we can then record onto the flash drive, and it's going to grab the image from Microsoft servers. Rufus doesn't provide the image to you, just to be clear. Rufus is getting the ISO image directly from Microsoft. So if you're in my position right now on a live video, and this isn't doing what I'm expecting it to do because it's a free program and a lot of people are probably hitting it right now, causing the servers to be busy, you could always go and download, or maybe you're just skeptical. You can download your image right here. Go to Windows 11 Download, and then it says Download Windows 11. This is all free. This is all legal. This is all legit. And it says right here, download a Windows disk image, an ISO. So that's what we're trying to do this with Rufus, and we're having some difficulty. So we only have one option, Windows 11. Before you begin, we have to confirm. This prevents bots from just hogging up all the bandwidth to ensure that your request is a valid request and not an automated one. What language do we want? So again, you're going to see up here how we have English International and English United States. Rufus is going to default to that international one. And if you're in the US, if you want your windows to look and act the same as what you see me do, you want the United States version. It does make a difference. Hit confirm. Now we're doing this all in real time. Now this is interesting here because this is telling us that for one reason or another, even the Microsoft servers at this point are suspicious at the number of connections that are being made. So whether that is because of me, I don't think I'm that popular, or because the request from Rufus is also coming in from the same IP address, it sees this as sort of like sketchy behavior from my IP address. So I'm going to try one more time from here. And once we have that ISO image, at that point, you're just going to hit the start record button. The minute you start to write that image, or record or burn, it's going to notice that it's a Windows 11 image you're creating. It's going to ask you if you want to bypass the Microsoft account right from the install, so you never have to mess with that again. If you want to disable encryption on Windows Home installations by default, so you never have to deal with that again, even if you want to bypass all of the security requirements. So what I want to do is essentially, this would only happen when I'm live, right? I've never had a problem with this ever. So we're just gonna try again here, again, English, United States, and confirm. Now the download for this is about 5.8 gigs, and it doesn't matter if you're getting it from Microsoft directly or you're getting it through Microsoft through Rufus. Either way, it's the same size file, it takes about the same amount of time. Now someone could install a VPN to work around whatever's going on here, but I'm not getting into that whole VPN usage because I think they're a big waste of money, personally. I don't use a VPN other than the encryption that's built into remote access software. So to stay on topic, there should be no reason we can't do this. When you record a video and edit it, stuff like this you would never see, right? Because it would all get edited out. But I'm glad this is happening in the sense that you can see that if this happens to you, that's not just you. There's nothing wrong with your computer, all right? And it's interesting. It says some users, entities, and locations are banned from using the service. So I think it's IP related, and it may be just the sheer number of requests that I'm flooding it with myself. It may have nothing to do with the audience. So out of curiosity, I'm just wondering what would happen if I just close this and restart it again. If I go back to my downloads folder, let's restart Rufus one more time, let it flush the memory out. Yeah. And Mara tells me I have email. Thank you, Mara. Wow. So we're going to try this again. Sometimes, you know, you turn it off and back on again. So if we had already downloaded our ISO image, we would just select it, right? But if we don't have it, we can grab it right through Rufus if Microsoft wasn't, for some reason, giving us some difficulty. We're going to select download, hit the download button. It grabs the database, continue, continue, continue. Now is where we're having the trouble, right? It should come up and ask us what language we want. And this does take a minute, that's normal. But having it error out, I've never experienced that before. I think that's just a Murphy's Law that I'm trying to demonstrate it live on camera. Just the roll of the dice. Anyway, once you grab that ISO image, let's just skip ahead, because if we grab the ISO image and we'll select the ISO image, you leave all this other information alone. Don't change anything here. Just hit the start button. And as soon as it recognizes that you're recording a Windows 11 media, you're going to get a box of options that pops up, and it sets that into the configuration settings of your installer, so your installer will never bother you with that stuff ever again. This will work on 25H2. This will work on 26H2. This will work on 27H2. Quote me. There's no way for Microsoft to stop this from working other than to release a whole new version of Windows that's, if it's Windows 11, I guarantee this works. And it may require, after Windows is updated, it may require that Rufus is updated to remain compatible. Maybe, maybe not. But it's always a good idea to make sure you're always running the latest version. And the best way to do that is delete it when you're done with it and download it when you need it. By forcing you to download it when you need it, you're always getting the latest version. It's a 2 meg download. It's really no big deal. Once you've answered those questions, it records the flash drive and you're done. You're absolutely done forever, at least until 25H2 comes out. When Windows 11 25H2 comes out, you'll need to make a new bootable media regardless of how you make it. And then when you do that, if you use Rufus, you'll be able to do the exact same things that we're doing today. So you don't have to mess with Shift F10. You don't have to bypass NRO. You don't have to worry if bypass NRO is going away because you're not using it to begin with. It's always better to be proactive than reactive, and this is a prime example of that. If you had done this 2 years ago with 22H2, by the way, and you just kept doing that with 23H2, 24H2, Rufus would be updated to accommodate the Microsoft account login requirements. You would never, ever encounter what all these YouTube video content creators are showing you how to solve. You'd never have that problem to begin with. And it's easy. It's easy when Microsoft servers are letting us download. I don't get that at all. I want to try this one more time. We can grab, we should be able to grab Windows 11 right from the Microsoft Store, now that I think about it. I've never done it this way, but we're live. What have I got to lose but embarrassing myself? Let's just see if we can download Windows 11 from Microsoft Store. Windows 11, see what it says. Let's see, Windows 11 installer. My understanding is it's in here. Maybe it's not in here. Either I'm not looking for it correctly, or I've misunderstood the locations for downloading Windows 11 officially. I'm going to try one more time. Go back to Microsoft and download this is the one I want right here. See what it does. This may be one of those things where it just sees my activity as suspicious, and now it's going to make me time out for a few hours before it lets me get it. So if that happens to you, try again tomorrow. Yeah. So this is very interesting, and I'm not quite sure why that's happening other than Murphy's Law. And as you can see, I've never activated Windows on this little mini PC, but I don't have to. It's not preventing us from doing anything. That's not why you're seeing this error. That's completely unrelated. If you know enough on how to change your IP address, this will solve that problem. But in any case, that's pretty much the whole process. It's really super simple. I've been using Rufus for years, and I've never actually seen this problem before, but I'm sort of glad that I have, because at least if anybody else experiences it, I know it's not just you and you're not doing anything wrong. All right, so we're seeing the same thing. And you know, my stubbornness, I'm the same kind of person that'll open the refrigerator 6 times to look for what wasn't there, what I couldn't find the 5 previous times. Like all of a sudden, it's going to magically appear. I don't know why I do that. But yeah, we're going to, basically, you're going to go through all this, continue, continue. And we're just waiting for the language option. It's going to default to English International. I need to change it to English United States. It downloads the ISO. We start to record or write our image to the flash drive. And as soon as it starts, it's going to realize that's a Windows 11 ISO and give us those options for customization. And those customization options don't change. In other words, that no matter how many times we use that Windows 11 installation media, it will always present us, it'll always rather bypass the login requirement unless we reburn the image turning that off. So if I want to reinstall Windows 11 on 100 computers, I just need to use this one media, and I never have to worry about bypass NRO or Microsoft accounts ever again. Never, ever again. So it's so easy, it's free, it's legal, it's reputable. I don't know why this isn't common knowledge, and I don't know why so many content creators show all these convoluted workarounds that, oh, well, that workaround doesn't work anymore. Now you got to do this workaround. This is ridiculous. The bypass NRO workaround is ridiculous if you're reinstalling Windows. If you bought a pre-built computer, that's a different story that already has Windows on it. Then the bypass NRO is still a good, valid fix for that. But why would you install your Windows with it to begin with? Likely because you didn't know this was possible. And by the way, Rufus isn't doing anything magical. If you want to know how Rufus does this, you could simply go to Copilot these days and educate yourself on it. So if we jump over here to Copilot and we say, how does Rufus turn off Microsoft Windows 11 login requirement? And it explains it here. So you can follow the same steps manually and do it yourself. So for example, it's explaining the steps we just showed you, right? Would you like a step-by-step guide with screenshots? Let's just say yes. Let's see how far this goes. These are all the options Rufus gives you and what they do. So what if I said, how can I remove requirement for online Microsoft account manually? So there's the Shift F10. That's the thing everybody keeps talking about, right? There's this registry hack. And then if you talk about the developer console, you can actually modify with an XML file. Let's just do it that way. What about XML on install? See, unlike regular traditional search, you can continue a conversation with Copilot keeping the context. So an unattended XML answer file can pre-answer all of the questions if you're always setting it up the same way. And this gives you an example, right? Here's a Windows System Image Manager, and you can set usernames up, passwords up. You can disable the login requirement, and you just save this on your installer. You'll overwrite the XML file that's there already. If there isn't one, you'll just create one. And the installer follows these predefined answers that you set up yourself. It's not rocket science. It's very, very simple. And it walks you through the whole thing. And if you want further clarification, you can continue to ask and dive deeper in Copilot for explanations. So if you said, for example, if we copy this code and say in Copilot, what does each line of this code do? And I guess I didn't need to copy it because it keeps the context of our conversation. It says this line right here, translated into English, this is what this does. Then this section here, this is what this does. And then this section here, this is what this does. Each line is explained. You can teach yourself programming if you're interested by having Copilot explain to you pre-written code so you can identify what each line of the code is for. Nobody's holding you back. If you have that motivation and that desire, it's really your fingers and your time to go get that. Copilot will offer it right to you if you ask. But if you can't be bothered, just use Rufus, and you can see this is all Rufus is doing. Everything is legit. Everything is intended according to Microsoft standards. You're not violating any Microsoft rules or any Microsoft recommended best practices, so you don't have consequences 12 months from now because of the modifications. This is what happens when content creators, when they make little system utilities or recommend tweaks to your services and things so you get better gaming performance. Then you get an update in 8 months and it's crashing systems and people are like, oh, that update's breaking my system. No, you broke your system 8 months ago when you followed that fool's, in my opinion, that fool's bad advice that gave you a benefit then. But now you're paying the consequence later. You know, if you do really bad drugs that make you feel good, you're probably going to really feel bad in the future as a consequence of withdrawal, or, you know, with alcohol, you get a hangover. Oof, is it worth it? I'll leave that to you to decide. I, for one, no hangover is better than any hangover. So you can have my alcohol. I'm not interested. I know I sound like a fun party guy, don't I? But honestly, it's not worth it. Not to me. Morton said it's working for him. Frank Jimmy says, no Windows for you. Gary says you can download the ISO for Microsoft. It must be something on your end. I think it's my numerous requests coming from my IP address of my cable modem are likely looking suspicious, and Microsoft is kind of shutting off that suspicious activity for a few minutes. I'm sure it'll start working again, and if that happens to you, it's probably the same thing. I don't think Microsoft servers are down. I don't think anything's wrong with Rufus. It's definitely my activity is unusual, right, to be sending in so many numerous requests for the file. And I'm sure that's, you know, auto detection going, better safe than sorry. Let's just shut this guy out for about 20 minutes. Sort of like putting somebody in timeout. Let's let him cool off. And then he can come back when he's cooled off. That's the sort of human translation of what the servers are doing in order to prevent abuse. I'm sure of it. Trevor Dunn said, just tried Rufus now to download Windows 11. It's working fine for me here in Ireland. Right on. Yeah, and it's super easy. I never see that happen. That's the first time I've ever seen it happen. So it's clearly just me. But rest assured, if it does happen to you, it's an IP address issue where the activity looks suspicious. It's not a permanent ban or anything. It's just they need you to take a break. Usually the break is an hour or two, but it could be as much as 24 hours. So if it happens to you, you know, you can go to a friend's house if you really need to have it right this second and you run into that problem. I've never seen that problem before, so I don't know what the odds of any of you experiencing it are. It's very strange. Out of curiosity, if I just try it here on the streaming computer, I wonder, it's probably IP address to the modem based. It's not probably specific to the machine, but I'm assuming. So let me just try downloading Windows 11 from Microsoft off the streamer. And if it gives me the same error, I know it's the IP address on the modem that it's reacting to. English United States, confirm. Okay, that went through. So something on this machine it doesn't like, apparently. So the other option we have, if I come back over here, and it's very simple, is to simply restart this computer. And I know it's a stereotype, but there's a reason it's a stereotype, because it can work. So what I'm going to do is we're going to jump back over here, and we're going to go to source projector for me. Click OK. I have to try it one more time. Since it now works on the streamer, I want to make sure it's consistently just not working on this mini PC. Like I said, it can take a minute. That's normal. So it's definitely something about this one computer it doesn't like, because they're both connected to the same cable modem. So it's not my IP address, whatever it is. So let's just close Rufus, and let's restart the computer. We're going to try it one more time after a restart. And then, I mean, I'd love to demonstrate it to you. We're just kind of getting hung up on this one part. This is not normal, and you are not likely able to repeat what I'm showing you here with the errors. And if you do end up having that error, it's nothing to worry about. It's temporary. So, but yeah, we're getting the file, whether we're getting it through Rufus, regardless, Rufus is pulling it from Microsoft. You don't want to get it from Pirate Bay. You don't want to get it where you don't know the source. It's too risky. And again, if you think you're immortal, not that life is at stake, but your internet identity is at stake along with all your data. So I've never met anybody who said they were immortal that turned out to be. Charles Manson said he was immortal. He said he was never going to die. He was absolutely convinced, and he swore up and down. Look it up, Google it. He died. So delusion and just telling things over and over again don't make things so. Again, I'm still not 10 feet tall. I'm still not 4,000 pounds, and I still don't have $1 million in my checking account, no matter how often I say it. What we're looking at right now with the Elgato card, that's my capture card, and it's just sensing the video output of this mini PC, which right now is rebooting. So there's our post screen. And in just a moment, we will have our desktop, and we're going to try this just one more time. Sometimes that's all it takes is a reboot. And it's free, easy, and pretty quick to reboot any computer. And it's always a first good step when troubleshooting a problem. Always do the easy thing first, and then you might just solve the problem and get on with life, and you don't need to ask for help, and you don't need to call anybody or send anybody an email and wait on a response. You can help yourself, and at the very least make the attempt instead of, you know, sitting there helpless. So I'm going to opt out of backup here and then skip for now. We're going to go back to our downloads directory where the Rufus program is downloaded. And right here is the Rufus portable. Double click that. Again, just a little 2 meg file, super teeny tiny file. We're going to go to download. Then the button changes from the word select, it changes to the word download. Click the download button. Close that other window out. Windows 11, yes, yes, yes. Okay, we're going to get past this point. Yes, just a reboot. See how it defaults to English International? This is where Americans screw up. If we just go up one, English United States is right there above it. Now we hit continue. Now here's the thing I need you to know. If you're skeptical, I'm proud of you. If you're like, how do I know that this is really coming from Microsoft? We cannot complete your request at this time. Some users are banned. Oh, well, we got further. You have the option to download this right through Rufus, or Rufus will ask if you'd like to open your browser and download it through your browser. So I continue to have some bizarre issues here, which I can't explain. But if you want to open, you know, if you say open it through my browser, Rufus will open your default browser, and you'll see the download happening as if you did it right through your browser. But if you allow Rufus to just do everything for you, it'll grab it and set everything up, and then all you have to do is hit the start button, make your choices with regards to the options you want on your installer, and you're good to go. So again, I'm not quite sure. This is very baffling to me, how it failed at a certain point before and it's failing at a different point now. But Microsoft, you know, they have to control hacking attempts, including wasting their bandwidth. If this is nearly a 6 gig download and you send 100 requests, just one user sending 100 requests at 6 gigs each, you're going to tie up their bandwidth. You're going to slow it down for everybody else. And if multiple people are doing that multiple times in an attempt to overwhelm the servers with basically a denial of service request, a distributed denial of service attack, if there's a lot of coordinated computers all asking for information at the same time, it's like flooding the radio station because of the giveaway. And all you're getting is a busy signal. Because all the people are calling at the same time, and the lines can only handle so many requests. So at the same time. So you'll just get a busy signal. Remember what a busy signal is for those of us old enough? This is the same thing. If we're flooding it and it's all coming from the same source, it's flagged as suspicious, I can most assuredly presume that's what's happening to me right now. None of you should probably experience this. If I go back over to the streamer and I look at my Windows download, I do have the download available to me right here. If I window capture that, you can see I've answered all the questions, and it says download, you know, all my previous solutions, or I've answered all of the questions it needed to provide this download. It says our link is valid for 24 hours. So you can't just keep this link indefinitely. When I click download, if we go up in this right corner, you'll see it, download is in progress. And it's 5.4 gigs. I think I said 5.8, it's 5.4. And that's your image. So again, with an edited video, this is a 3-minute TikTok video, honestly. You edit out all those parts where, you know, we're running into these little weird things that happen because it's not likely going to happen to you. And, you know, if 5% of the people have an issue, you're still helping 95% of everybody else. And that 5% remaining may be no fault of their own. It could be the servers are really busy, or it could be they're doing something wrong. Maybe they're using a VPN that's banned, and Microsoft knows that's a VPN, and they just won't serve it to you. I don't use a VPN. I think VPNs are a big scam. Unless you're a big company and you're protecting customer data, or there are regulatory laws that define you must accommodate certain business policy practices in certain fields like finance, banking, and health, etc., then the government dictates what you must do. Why anybody would BitLocker themselves, I don't get it. Why anybody would VPN themselves other than to steal content, I don't get it. I'm not saying those are the only reasons. I'm just telling you I don't get it. When I remote connect to any client's computer, that remote connection is always encrypted. Therefore, in and of itself is a VPN. So I don't know what you guys think you're doing, but if it makes you feel better at night, I mean, if it's this idea of security theater that, you know, you think you're safer because you're believing their nonsense, you're not hurting anybody. You're just spending money, in my opinion. You could be spending a little more wiser. VPNs are not foolproof. And most of the time for home users, they're using VPNs to skirt around intellectual property rules. But, you know, I'm not your daddy. I ain't the police. You do what you want. You want to spend your money that way? Spend it. I don't use it. If you were my customer and it wasn't required, we didn't have a valid reason for it, I would suggest you save your money and reduce the complexity of your networking and the speed of your networking, which is going to be hindered by a VPN, guaranteed. I'd say if we don't absolutely need to have it, let's get rid of it. Let's make things easier to maintain, less likely to break, and cost less money. So if the benefit of having the VPN justifies the network complexity, the slowdown, and the increased likelihood of support calls as a result of the VPN from services that block VPNs, then we'll say, okay, if we're okay with all that, it's worth it, then we'll do it. Or again, if there's a regulatory agency that says in a certain business model, business category, you must have a VPN. Say you want to process credit cards, and the credit card company, the credit card bank that's funding that says you're not processing credit cards without a VPN, we'll probably be using a hardware VPN for that. You know, PCI compliance. PCI compliance. Okay, so regardless of that, that's business versus home users. Let me go back to our download here. So this did download. And here's what I'm doing. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to copy this over to my server. So I'm going to go to my NAS, and I'm just going to paste it right on the root of my NAS so I can just pull it off of there real easy. And then I'm going to come over here to the mini PC, log into the NAS over my network. I just pull it through that way, which is, you know, look, if I had a bunch of these to do, it makes sense to have it on my server. But this does get updated the ISO image will be updated at 25H2, so I'll have to recreate my media when 25H2 ISO comes out. Sometimes Microsoft may also update the ISO, but they've not done so with any sort of regularity. As a result, as far as I know, the same ISO I'm downloading today from Microsoft is the same one I downloaded back in March. It hasn't changed, not yet. So once I make this once, it should be good for a very long time. So now let me go back over to the mini PC. Let's go there together. And if I open my network and I go to network, I should see that's our streamer. There's our NAS right there. And if I scroll all the way down, this is where I put the ISO image. We'll just drag that out. Okay? So that's me cheating. I should have been able to grab this through Rufus or through Microsoft, but there's no stopping me. Like, the worst thing you can ever do is tell me no, because I will find a workaround. I'm not just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over. I might try it 2 or 3 or 4 times to be thorough, but then I will try a different technique and a different technique and a different technique. I will always find a way out. That's that MacGyver 1980s Gen X in me. We work with what we have to accomplish what we need. And, you know, in some cases, it may be best to just take a day off. I'll do that too. Try fresh again tomorrow. But if I'm really stubborn, and I am, and I'm going to get this done, nothing will get in my way. It'll take longer than I had planned, but it won't get in my way. So now that we've got that ISO image that we were trying to download, let's start Rufus one more time, and I'll show you what it looks like when we continue from here. So again, Rufus is the portable version. There's no installation, so we're not leaving anything behind in the registry. We're not copying over any files in our Windows or system directories. In this case now, it sees our flash drive right up here. It's automatically detected it. It's blank. I go over here to select, and I'm going to select that ISO image I just downloaded, which is right here. Now, everything else is predefined. Leave all this alone. You don't have to have this volume label, but I recommend you keep it, because this is the official volume label for Microsoft. So if you want everything legit, don't customize any of it. There could be consequences to your customizations. In all likelihood, the label doesn't make any difference, but once you recognize Microsoft labeling, you'll know exactly what this is. I'm going to go ahead and hit the start button, and now it says, hey, this is a Windows 11 install. Do you want to customize it? You can remove the requirement for 4 gigs of RAM and secure boot. I think you'd have to be profoundly foolish or not connecting to the internet to turn that on. But it's not illegal to be a fool, so go ahead, turn that on, see if I care. I wouldn't do that to a customer. Remove requirement for an online Microsoft account. This one's easy. I absolutely want to remove that requirement every single time, because that's reversible. I can always add a Microsoft account later. Create a local user account with the username user. You know, when I set up Windows, I always use the username user, except when I don't. So because of that, I'll just manually set it, because there are exceptions where I don't use the default of user. That's primarily what I do when I'm broadcasting. Set regional options to the same values as this user's. So in other words, setting it to United States, setting it to Phoenix, all of that, I can do that right out of the gate. But some of these computers, they get shipped to other states. As a result of that, I'm going to leave that unchecked, because that's variable. But if you're just making this for you, you can put your name in here, your region. But I'm working on customers from all over the United States on their machines. So I have to customize it accordingly, even though 90% of the time, I'm probably setting it the same way. And this is changeable as well. I can always change the region. I can always change the username. But now I'm working harder rather than working smarter. I don't want to do it twice. Here, disable data collection. That's skipping the privacy questions. Well, here's the problem. I want location on. So because of that, there's no option to turn it all off but that. So that takes me 2 seconds to do anyway. That's not helping me. Now this one, it says disable BitLocker automatic encryption. Yes. These are the only 2 check boxes I select as a professional business dealing with other people's computers that are not mine, that they're paying me to do, that I'm held accountable to. Any other boxes is unprofessional behavior. That's home user behavior. So you choose where you fit, okay? This is what I choose for where I fit, what my responsibilities are to other people's stuff. And I click OK. It says, look, your flash drive is going to get erased. Well, no duh. Now it's making our Windows 11 install media. This is it. This is as difficult as this needs to be. Now there's no more bypass NRO. There's no more, is my device, is my drive encrypted through Windows 11 Home, which is not BitLocker, but it will, in many cases, encrypt by default. This ensures that it won't. Now, if you want to enable BitLocker, good luck to you. I wish you the best journey. I will not be joining you on that journey. If you're a business and you're protecting customer data, you can pay me for that service to take care of that for you. All right, so with that, this will take a couple minutes to record to the flash drive. And it's done, and it will never need to be changed until 25H2 comes out. We repeat the same process on the same flash drive, and we're good for another 12 months in most cases. 26H2 will be out. We'll do it again. I don't know why anybody's making this so hard. It's the easiest thing in the world, but yet trying to get people to accept this information is very difficult. I don't have the biggest viewership compared to others, and those with bigger viewerships are often giving out, in my opinion, very bad information. And it's really up to you, because you're the ones watching, to be skeptical, even of the information I give you. I don't expect any exemptions from this. You need, if you're interested and you think it's valid, test it yourself and validate it before you go spouting it off to other people, adding to all the noise. Freedom of speech is freedom to lie. You understand? Freedom of speech is freedom to lie. So how can you tell who's lying from who's telling the truth? They both have every right. They're not breaking any laws by doing it. It's up to you as the viewer to sift through the trash from the treasure. And if you can't be bothered, good luck to you. That's all I got to say. All right, let me get back over to the chat room. Tell us how you really feel, Carey. Let's see. David Graham joins us. He says he didn't get the notice for today's broadcast. That's weird. It was last minute, though. I wasn't planning to broadcast today. Frank Jimmy says, have you tried switching out of Windows 11 S mode? I've never seen a computer that has Windows 11 in S mode. Those are usually going to be very inexpensive, basic computers. But if I had one, you know what I would do, don't you? I would go over here to Copilot, and I would say, how do I switch Windows 11 out of S mode? And I would follow these steps. You know, we don't have to live the way we used to. We don't have to rely on Google searches being accurate, whether or not we're getting a real phone number. We can start using these AIs that are doing the research for us, and they cannot be trusted 100%, but they can be trusted right now a lot better than generic searches on Bing and Google. They're at least twice as accurate. So in my experience, this is a great place to replace search. Stop using Google, stop using Bing, start using AI. Because when the AI doesn't understand your question correctly, or the answer is a bit more complex, you can ask AI to break that down and continue a dialogue as you would with a human. And it makes it so much easier and more accurate. Even though it's not 100% accurate, to me, it's more accurate than Bing or Google are in their search results. So this is the new search. And the sooner you get used to it, the sooner you'll get to your answers. And if the answers have any questions, you can ask follow-up questions, and you don't have to start a whole new search again. You don't have to phrase things in a certain, you know, when we do a search, whoops, I just dropped my mouse. Hold on. Oh, getting old. Okay. Turn it around the other way. Okay, so when we use our search, let me bring that back up. I guess I minimized it. If I said on Google search, I might say, how much Bitcoin, if I wanted to know the value, right? We leave words. We don't talk to search like we talk to a person. And you see, AI still understood our question. It infers. Because it infers, it can often give you the wrong answers too. But I could have just as easily said, well, let's just do this. How much will Bitcoin be worth tomorrow? That's in 2 years. And there you go. Anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million, but it's guessing, and it's saying for 2027, these are predictions. And you see these little numbers, these are the reference points that it's using to where it's collecting this data from. And then you can determine if those reference points are valid or not. So this could be, you know, completely wrong, as would anybody trying to predict the future on anything. But at least they've got citations. You know what I'm saying? It never says, well, I have a feeling. No, no, no. It doesn't have any feelings. It's just looking at other data online, and it doesn't give you one answer. Could be this one, could be this one, could be this one, could be this one. And then there's a whole disclaimer. Keep in mind, they're speculative forecasts, right? They're not guarantees. It's highly volatile. So there you go. That's why this is so much far superior to Google and Bing. Far superior. You can have more of a natural interaction with it. And again, it's not going to always be 100% accurate, but in my experience, it's far more accurate. And you notice I didn't see any sponsorships in my search results here. It took me right to the answer. How much you want to bet? That's going to change. So this is the time to enjoy it. Remember the early days of Google when it used to be good? That's all I wanted you to just think about that. If you wait and you're like, oh, I'll wait for that to mature, you're also going to wait for the ads to start implementing all of your search results, or you're going to have to pay for it. So if you use it now while it's new, then you can complain when they start putting the ads and charging. They're already charging for it, but for modest use, it's free. All right, let me go back to the chat room and see what you guys have to say here. All right, so we've already made this flash drive over here. And if we go back over to this machine, you'll see it's going to say it's done, right? It shows it's 100%. And we don't get any pop-up or anything. It's just that the green bar is moved all the way across. And then we have a button there that says close. So let's hit close. And now if I go to the start and go to settings, let's restart to the flash drive and see if that begins our Windows 11 install media. This is how we test it. I simply go to Windows Update, I go to Advanced Options under Recovery, and I choose the Advanced Startup. So I hit Restart now, and when it restarts, it's going to give me Advanced Restart menu, which is, you know, the option to boot into safe mode and to boot into the BIOS, to do all these different things. And there's multiple ways that I can do this. I can go into the BIOS or hit the boot override key at the right time. If I know which key it is, and if I time it just right. So I'd rather not push the button at the right time and not hit the whammy. No whammies. I'd rather just let the system give me a chance to pick an option and not proceed without me if it doesn't get it at the right moment. Furthermore, I don't even know what the key is because a lot of systems are different. So in just a minute, when this restarts, it won't boot into Windows. It's going to boot into an Advanced Startup menu. Within that advanced startup menu is the option to boot to the USB drive, which I'll show you here in just a moment. This machine is a very low-end, $120 brand new computer. So it's not that fast, but it is Windows 11 compatible. And for doing regular things folks do, like paying bills, reading email, visiting social media, watching YouTube videos, or even having it as a media center for your television, for 120 bucks, it's a steal all day. But I'm not editing videos on this thing, you know what I'm saying? So over here, we're going to go to troubleshoot. Oh, actually, we can go to use a device. That's what I want. Use a device and USB partition 1. You see it created 2 partitions on that flash drive. One for UEFI boot, one for legacy boot. That's why you don't change any of that. I saw Scott doing that on his channel. He's not wrong, but he's also adding steps that are completely redundant, in my opinion. But you know, he also probably put a lot of time into his video, whereas I'm just doing this off the cuff. And there's our Windows 11 setup. Bada boom, bada bing. And we can reuse this flash drive endlessly, over and over and over, as many times as we want to reinstall Windows on as many computers as we want to reinstall it on. It never expires, except when Windows 11 support ends for 24H2, which will probably be in 2 years. So when 25H2 is released, that ISO image that we downloaded will be updated the same day. We'll just update the ISO, we'll re-record over this flash drive, and it's still a Windows 11 installation media. It's still free, it's still legit, it's still real. It comes from Microsoft, and we never have to do the bypass NRO. Never again. Doesn't matter if Microsoft removes it. This is going much deeper than that, and you'd have to change the entire operating system for that to no longer be effective. And for that reason, for as long as Windows is calling it, or Microsoft is calling it Windows 11, Rufus will always be able to bypass it. When they completely change the foundation, if they go that far on whenever will be Windows 12 at some point, or whatever they call it, then Rufus will probably be updated to accommodate as needed. But at that point, this is all just like, what if I'm walking down the street and a meteor falls out of the sky and hits me in the head? Like, it's so preposterous to consider this. You've got to have something else better and more productive to do, because that's nothing you can do about it. It's a long way away, and it may never even happen. So why worry about it today? So Mara did tell us a while back that we had email to check, and I never did get back to it. So my apologies for that. Let me see. Oh, our friend Thomas Morton there from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, sends a $50 Amazon gift card. He says this is for the construction or the NAS drive funds. Well, thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. The construction has temporarily paused because I've spent all I can, and now the construction needs to wait until I build up some more money, and we can continue on with it. But we got the worst of it, like the big prize, the expensive stuff is out of the way. The hard work is done. Everything else is like, we have to get a new door, we have to get baseboards, we have to get a light fixture, we're going to hang a TV on the wall, so the electrical outlet has to be moved. All the electrical outlets have to be replaced, which I may end up just doing myself. It's just a lot of nickel and dime stuff, but it's still a couple of grand before it's done. But we can see the finish line. We're reaching it. We can see it from here. Maybe another month or so. And then hopefully after that, when I get paid, I'll think, gosh, I don't have to pay the construction guys. What am I going to do with this money? Wouldn't that be a nice problem to have? Actually, we have a kitchen rebuild we'll have to do. That's probably $30,000. I don't think that's happening this year. I need to lick my wounds at this point, and holy moly, it's a lot of work. But all of your contributions help with the channel so that we can continue these projects and continue to be able to share with you my education and my experience and demonstrate live, so you don't just have to take my word for it, and you don't have to infer what I'm saying. You can just follow step by step for what I show on the screen to get the exact same results, or hopefully better. Like, hopefully you're not getting the error message that I was getting. That was weird. But it is live, and that shows you this is truly live and unscripted. What sort of madman would do that on purpose? Let's see. Any other questions in the chat? Or subject matter that you want to talk about, that if we can talk about it, we will. Icarana says, I'm going to hook up a projector on the side of my garage so Carey can in fact be 10 feet tall. Still won't weigh 4,000 pounds though. David Coopy said he just tried both methods of grabbing the ISO, both from Microsoft's website and through Rufus, and they did work. I would expect they're always going to work. I wouldn't have wanted to demonstrate it live if I thought for an inkling there was a chance that was going to happen. I've never seen that happen before. So I appreciate the feedback, but of course I fully expect either way should work fine. I have no explanation for what we witnessed here. It's not normal, and I've never seen that before. But it also isn't anything I freaked out about. I'm not panicked, like who cares? Super easy to work around some of these obstacles that, like the bypass NRO that everybody's freaking out about. It's so easy to work around that. Oh, the Synology NAS requires Synology drives. Oh no, they put a pink ribbon in my way. How can I ever cross that pink ribbon? Oh dearie me. I don't know, maybe just lift the ribbon up and walk under it? That's what we're talking about here. The workarounds for this stuff is so easy. It's all legitimate. You're not breaking any laws. And yet people will whine and cry as though, well, there's a pink ribbon in my way. How am I supposed to move forward with this obstacle I can't move? Maybe try moving the obstacle? I don't want to move the obstacle. It shouldn't be there. Just go. Go. Jeez, I'll lift it for you. Go. It's not a locked vault door, for crying out loud. It's a simple little ribbon. Who cares? I cannot believe what I'm seeing online at the helpless victimization that everybody seems to, at least the vocal ones, seem to be propagating on YouTube videos and Reddit. Woe is me about Windows. Stop using Windows. If you don't like it, don't use it. You have Apple, you have Linux. Why in the world would you continue to use Windows and complain about it? If you're at that level, you shouldn't be using Windows. It's not designed for you. So stop it. But Windows is the only thing that works with my software. Okay. And why? What has that got to do with Microsoft? Well, then I have to use it. No, you don't. I promise you, you don't. In fact, we can take your computer and throw it in the trash can. There's nothing about your computer that you can't live without. This idea that it doesn't conform to your sensibilities or your sensitivities because you're so fragile and you're so resistant to change is not a Microsoft problem. That's a problem upstairs with the end user. So my recommendation for those end users is a little shock therapy. What you need to do is you need to go use Linux. Just go and use it, or go spend the money and go buy an Apple computer. And when you see how restrictive and difficult they are, maybe you'll come back and ask for an apology, ask for forgiveness rather, about how wrong you were about Windows, because even though it's not perfect, it's still the best option out there, and that's why you're using it. Just be honest. If there was a better option than Windows, why would you still be using Windows? So how can you complain about it? Because without it, you'd be worse off. Because in my day, when we complained about something, they just took it from us. They'd say, you want to cry? We'll give you something to cry about. They'd say, you know, if you don't like what you have, we'll solve the problem by taking away what you have. Problem solved. This is how we solved problems in the 80s. This is how our parents raised us. So my attitude is very simply put, if you don't like it, return it and get your money back. If you feel like, well, it could be better, make it better. Do something. Do your part to make it better. Necessity is the mother of invention. Well, I don't know how to do that. Well, then you should appreciate what you have, because without it, you'd have nothing to complain about. It's all Gen X, man. Gen X to the core. My parents solved those problems so quick. I don't like this. Boom, take it away. There, solved it for you. Have a nice day. My parents didn't coddle. They just said, you know what? You can have it or you can not have it. That's it. If you're going to complain about it, we'll take it away from you. There, now you don't have anything to complain about. Are you crying? Why are you crying? Because you didn't get something you wanted? Well, that's not a good reason to cry. Now, we're going to spank you. Now you can cry because we've spanked you. Now there's a reason for you to cry. Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, this is how my whole generation was raised. So when I see all of these people whining and complaining while at the same time still using the thing they whine and complain about, instinctively, I want to take it from them and say, well then, here, solve your problem. It's real easy. But, you know, what can I say? Different generation. So how long have we been on today? Nearly 2 hours. That's pretty good. As I mentioned, the Sabrent networking USB network cards are on sale. Also, they're regularly cheap from other manufacturers anyway. The Nano KVM, I'll be doing an unboxing and setup guide. Now that I've done this 3 times, I feel like it should be really smooth. Like I shouldn't run into any obstacles. The more I do it, as with anything in life, the more familiar you are with the process, and it should happen a lot smoother and faster. A lot of times, I don't like to make videos like that because it doesn't show the misconceptions that occur at a first-time experience. Most content creators won't show that because they're afraid it makes them look foolish. We're all foolish. We're all foolish on certain subject matter. We don't know everything, and we wouldn't want to because life would be very boring if we knew everything. And so showing the process of discovery, saying, oh, I see this goes here, I see this goes there, that is how you learn. But most people won't show how they learn. They keep it a secret, and then they edit a video as if they already knew it all. Then you watch that video and think, well, I can do it the way they did. And you end up making probably the same mistakes and misunderstandings they made, which was all avoidable if they simply were honest about it. And that's what I showcase on my channel. It's important that I make mistakes. It's important that I struggle with this build because I'm finding things about this build, just for example, that other content creators haven't mentioned. I haven't heard any content creators talk about the fans on top versus the fans on bottom. I haven't talked about the big radiator, the 280 mil radiator, getting in the way of the motherboard stand. I haven't heard anybody talk about the lack of flexibility or swivels on those pipes and how they cause installation issues. I haven't heard anybody talk about all the options regarding how you can put the different size radiators in different ways. They all do it their own way, and they don't even so much, in most cases, as mention there's any other possible way. It's as though it's implied the way I did it is the way it has to be done. They're not saying that, but they're also not putting that disclaimer out there that this is one of several ways that you can accomplish what we're doing. And so the way I'm doing this is I'm trying to replicate what's in the marketing photo, and no other video I've seen showcases that. So none of them are wrong. But what they're choosing to do is they're choosing to look at a coin and only show you the front of it. And if you've never seen a coin before, you may not realize it has an edge and it has a back. So while they're not lying to you, they're not fully disclosing all of the information. Therefore, what you're getting from the internet is what they want to share with you, or what they're subliminally not aware of that they're not sharing with you, or intentionally withholding. I don't know. I try to cover it all. I try to say, look, here's the good, here's the bad, here's the pro, here's the con. When I see a group of people all thinking like sheep, and they're all just like mob mentality with pitchforks and torches, I have very low respect for those people. I immediately, red flags go off in my head. If I see that many people jumping on a bandwagon, Oh boy, that's not good. So instinctively, I'm not getting on that bandwagon, and I'm going to steer clear of it. And I'm going to take the opposite. If for no other reason than because everybody else is doing that, and I don't want to be a thoughtless sheep following everybody else. So even if it was my idea to do what they're doing, I no longer want to do it anymore. Now I want to reconsider and take a different path, because that one is too tribal. I'm not interested in tribal mentality. I really don't care. It has no interest to me. It's what dogs do. It's what animals do. When I sense human beings behaving like wild animals, I steer clear of them. And they're free to do it. They're not breaking any laws, and I'm free to stay away from them because I find ignorance in that behavior. I just find, hey, you're like me, so I like you. Let's all get together because you're like me. What if you're not like me at all? We can't hang out? What if you want to think on your own? Well, that's not welcome. If you want to think the way we think, you can come on in. So here, for example, we just want people to be kind, right? Now, you don't have to agree with me on things I say, and I don't really expect you to. You'll find value in some of the things I say and dismiss others, and I expect no less, and you should expect the same in return. At the same time, I don't dislike you because we don't agree. I might dislike you because you're not behaving respectfully as a guest, that you don't have any decorum or courtesy for others who think differently, and I'll shut you down real quick. I'm willing to accept your point of view so long as you're willing to accept mine, and we agree to, appreciate and respect one another's beliefs. But if you're flat out telling somebody that you're wrong, you better have a citation from a reputable source that you can back that up with. Otherwise, you're just barking like a dog at a fence. It's noise and it's meaningless. And so in that way, what I hope to get from my community is honesty and trust and respect, courtesy. Even if it's not respect, at least courtesy. I appreciate when I make a mistake and somebody tells me. I don't appreciate when someone challenges or belittles me. There's a difference. So nonetheless, it's still not a group mob mentality. I still want you to think on your own. I just want you to be courteous about it. And I will return the same back to you. So in that way, like I said, I could see somebody going, well, your crowd is, if they don't think the way you do. No, that's not how it works. It has to do with courtesy, just being civil. If you can't be civil, you're not going to be a part of the community. It's quite simple. I'm trying to shut that one off before it even starts. It's a big difference. Bill Stott said, I call it the lemmings mentality. Yeah, but that's a problem that solves itself, right? They all just walk off the edge of a cliff, and that's problem solved. Sounds like my cousin Vinny explaining the playing card. I don't remember that scene, but I just know, what are Utes? Utes? Fred Gwynn was great, wasn't he? Paul Connolly joins us and says hello. Tim Francis says, I have a new MSI B550 Tomahawk with an AMD 5800X CPU, and I can't get past the BIOS. Well, normally, like if you're building a new computer and it turns on and it gets you into the BIOS, that suggests that your storage media is not bootable or is not installed. So it may be that your storage media is installed incorrectly, is damaged or broken, or that you need to, if it's brand new storage media, you need to format and partition and format and install an operating system on it. So we'd have to know more with regards to what storage media you have installed. Also, when you're building for the first time, I keep saying it and saying it and saying it, do not plug any USB devices into your computer unless it's a keyboard or a mouse. That's it. Nothing more. Just the monitor, just power. just keyboard, just mouse. No internet, no printers, nothing else. And then your Windows installation media. This should be the only thing in USB. That way you can partition and format your unbootable drive. If your drive isn't being detected, it may be installed in the wrong slot. Try moving it to a different slot. The drive itself may be bad, or if you have multiple drives installed, remove all drives but one. When you do a first-time build, when you hook everything up, everything could be causing the problem. So you want to minimize just to the bare absolute necessities on a first boot, so your diagnostic is a lot faster. You don't have to check 12 things, you only have to check 5 things. Once you do that, the problem's usually made very, very clear. If you try and do everything at once, it is a nightmare to try and solve. Paul Connolly says, Gen X raised on hose water and neglect. And we liked it. If you ask any of us if we could go back to the 80s and just stay there, I think every single one of us would say yes. It was far better. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't paradise, but compared to today, it was. David Graham renews membership, now a member for 23 months. He said, I saw your AO Star Gods mini PC review on Amazon. It was good. Yeah, thanks, David. I noticed nobody else had reviewed it yet. There's also a video unboxing that I posted on Amazon, and I don't know why Amazon's not showing that on the product page, but they say that they might or they might not, right? Just generically, if you post a video review and they approve it, which is a whole nother rigmarole, they don't guarantee that they'll associate it with the page, or that if they do, that it won't stay there and rotate in and out with others. But since I'm the only one, you'd think it would be there. I don't know how that works, but I did my part. I also uploaded the unboxing of the Synology 1525, which Amazon strangely approved, and yet it still doesn't appear on the product page at Amazon. And they do say it could take a few days, but I don't get what they're doing. Just Me in the chat says, I like using Windows because I'm in my 60s and I started to like complaining, and my favorite thing to do is tell the kids to stay off my lawn. Perfect. I don't see any problem with that. What's wrong with that? Ergo Des says, Microsoft has given me these problems over the past few weeks. Every new attempt, it always has something new, surprises. It's evolving, and you need to evolve with it. If you want to stay in the past because you like things the way they used to be, Microsoft will not hold your hand. So it's really on you to keep up if it's important to you. If it's not important to you, then just learn to accept that's your choice. That's neither Microsoft's fault. It's a decision you make as a user, whether or not you wish to keep up. But they won't hold themselves back because you don't want to. They're not building it for you. Very rarely ever seen a Microsoft problem that a user points out. It's usually a user that has a problem with Microsoft. And once we can correct that user's perspective, the problem somehow goes away. Sometimes the tools I use in my business aren't things I hold in my hands, but the words that I use to explain things to be reasonable and explain proper expectations to customers and let them know, let them really think about, is what you're complaining about learning, is that a reasonable thing to complain about? And there's gentle ways and diplomatic ways to present that to the customer by asking a few questions to sort of point them to a mirror. And when they look back at the mirror, they see what the problem is. And from that point forward, we're usually good. It's very common these days. But it's really about how much effort you want to put into it. If you don't want to put any work into it, you're just going to constantly be confused. If you don't want to go to the gym and exercise and eat right, you're probably not going to be in the best shape you could be. So a lot of people say they want to lose weight, but very few people actually go through the sacrifice and the effort needed to do so. And that's how we separate the wheat from the chaff. You know, we have to separate what's a real problem
from what's a user attitude issue. And more times now than ever before, we're seeing issues with user attitude. And I'm not a psychologist, but the world runs off Windows, corporations for the house you live in and the TV you watch, the electricity that you pay the electrical company for, the computer you're using to watch this video is all designed, built, manufactured, distributed, purchased through, and shipped by corporations that run off Windows computers. So if Windows had these real issues that you think are real issues, then how is it possible that all these corporations are all still using it and aren't complaining with news media and to their shareholders regarding losses of investment because of Microsoft? When have you ever seen a company come forward and say, well, today at Ford Motor Company, we're projecting a loss of automobile sales. As a result, we're expecting a decline in our share price during this quarter. Damn Microsoft Windows. But a home user sitting around going, they're struggling with something they don't understand. That's damn Microsoft Windows every time. At least every time I hear about it. It's always Windows' fault. It's, damn you, Obama. I can't help but laugh at how silly it is. Or home users are running a 15-year-old piece of software, and after they get a Windows update, that software that they haven't updated in 15 years, something's not working right with it. I wonder what that problem could be. How much has technology changed in 15 years? You remember the year you got your first cell phone? Was it 30 years ago? Do you remember what you used before that? Do you remember when you got your first flat screen TV or the first time you saw HD TV 20 years ago? I mean, I don't know if you realize how much has changed, how quickly. Do you even listen to the radio anymore? Do you know anybody who does? We're living in such a different world, and yet we're so immune from the passage of time so often. It shocks me that people aren't just more self-aware with how much time has passed. If you would have told me in 1985, I want you to think about this for a minute. If you said 40 years ago in 1945, me as a 17-year-old kid would go, 1945, all I can picture is black and white TV, the end of World War II. Everything looks so dingy and gray because it's all black and white. Seemed like 200 years ago, from 1985, from my eyes, to 1945. But if you say to me in 2025, do you remember 1985? It was just yesterday. It doesn't seem old at all. In fact, if you had a Tamagotchi, I still want to play with it. If you had a Furby, what's wrong with a Furby? What's wrong with it? If I hear music on the radio from 1985, it's very different from the music that was on the radio in 1945, in that I still think the music from 85 sounds modern, a lot of it. Much of it does have an 80s sound, but that 1945 stuff, they all sounded the same to me. So is that just my unique perspective based on where I was born and how I saw the world? Or has it really changed that much that kids today may look back at 1985 and say, oh man, it sounds like a cool time to live? Because I never looked back beyond my birth date and thought the world would have been better in the 50s or 40s or 30s or 20s. Felt like I missed anything. I'm like, phew, glad I wasn't around for the Great Depression, World War I, World War II. I was very young for the Vietnam War, but still didn't really affect my life as being so young, and certainly nowhere near drafting age. Maybe if I'd been born a little earlier. But then, I'm saying, phew, thank goodness I wasn't. But I can't help but wonder if kids today would go, man, we're jealous. We wish the way you make the 80s sound and what we hear about it sounds like it was an awesome time. Better than today. That thought of going back in time that it would be better prior to my birth never occurred to me. The world has always been better since I've experienced it. On the other hand, I wonder if that still holds true to like Gen Z, if they think back, wow, it seems like the world was better. or if they think like I did, and whew, I'm glad I didn't live during that time. These are the mental perspectives that we're in control of that don't alter reality, but only how we choose to see it. And so I see that a lot with users complaining about Windows, that for some reason they have an unrealistic expectation of accommodation to their specific needs, and computers aren't designed for that yet. Now, maybe in another 10 or 20 years, they'll be able to morph into what you need them to be, but we got a ways to go before they get there. We've come a long way from typing on a keyboard and knowing archaic DOS commands to navigate your way around. That really kept the average person away from computers. And then the downside of average people being able to use computers is anything that requires any sort of technical understanding, they don't have it and don't think they should. They're not wrong, but they're just a little premature. We haven't evolved that much yet, but we have come a long way. Jason H88 said, 1985, missed my parachute pants. Snakebite said he was born in 95 and he wished he was born earlier. See, that's what I wonder. Like, is that a thing? Because at no point did I ever wish I was born earlier, because it just seemed like the world was worse. And I feel like the world got better and then it got worse again. But I just know me. I don't know how other people, like, I don't normally have that discussion with other people. It's not normally mentioned. Gary Tatum said, I loved DOS. Well, so did I. I mean, you didn't have a choice. If you wanted to navigate, an IBM compatible computer, you had to do so with a disk operating system, and you'd have to know how to navigate. And most people had no interest in that. LRCX in the chat wants to know, if I clone my current Windows 10 and set it aside, then I do the Windows 11 update through Windows Updates, would there be a problem if I needed to go back to Windows 10 using the clone? No. When you install Windows 11 on top of Windows 10, you have 15 days to uninstall it. So just right there, it's built in. Having a clone or an image backup is always a good idea, regardless if you're planning to update or not. It's just something you should have on hand in case a drive fails. So a system image is always a good thing. I cannot imagine a scenario where you would need to roll back to Windows 10. Like, everything that works on Windows 11 works on Windows 10, or vice versa. So it's just that Windows 11 adds a bunch of features that Windows 10 doesn't have, but it's not taking anything away. So nowhere in my experience or my imagination could I ever foresee anybody justifying anything other than an emotional clutch, like a safety blanket, to go backwards to Windows 10. So yes, you can clone, and you should have done that anyway, your Windows 10. You're worried about nothing. You have false expectations appearing real because you have no reference point from which to build upon, and therefore that lack of information results in you having anxiety. The best way to resolve that anxiety is to face it head on and to verify if that was justified. And the likelihood is that you'll realize you've been hesitating and postponing this for no reason other than your imagination. Now, if I'm wrong, and if there is a problem, an actual problem that you can show me, I guarantee you we have a workaround for that. And I think the odds of you having a problem are very, very low. And that if you were, for whatever reason, you did have a problem, I'm 100% positive we can just fix whatever that is. The only exception would be you have some old software. But even that software, that old software, if it runs in Windows 10, I'm not aware of anything that's ever existed in the history of software that will only run in Windows 10 and not 11. I've never seen a piece of software like that exist, because Windows 11 is basically Windows 10. I mean, let's be honest, it's not a real big upgrade. That doesn't mean that piece of software doesn't exist. but it means as a professional with the clients that I deal with, the phone calls and the emails, and the scale at which my operation works with all the different needs of each user and each different computer I deal with, that scenario has never existed. But maybe for you it will. And if so, you can roll back your clone. But I wish people would just do this. Stop talking about going on the diet. Go and diet. Stop talking about it and do it. Once you do it, you realize it's not a big deal. I promise you. So if that's what you need, you should have that backup anyway. You should have that clone, whether you think you need it or you don't. You should always have a clone or a backup of some kind, for no reason other than because it's Saturday. You never know when you might need it. It's just like insurance on a car. You keep that insurance even if you're not planning to drive today. Even if you're just going around the corner to the grocery store. You don't go, well, I better get insurance, I'm taking a long road trip. Most accidents don't happen on a long road trip. They usually happen just doing your daily routines not far from home. You never know when, and it may not be your fault. You may not have done anything wrong. That's why you have insurance. Same with backups. Backups are your insurance. So, yeah, you can roll back to it. As long as you have it, you can roll back to it. So I appreciate the question, but I'm telling you, this anxiety is unjustified. Once you actually do it, you'll realize this is nothing. It's really not a big deal. If I'm wrong, let me know what the issue is. Don't just immediately restore. Give me a chance to help you get around that issue first. And then you'll realize, oh, it wasn't a big deal. And I don't think you're going to have a problem to begin with. But in the unlikely event that you do, it's still probably no big deal. Gary Tatum wants to know if Microsoft will change NTFS to something like the BTRFS. Microsoft has been working on the REFS. Is it what it's called? REFS? Let me go over to Copilot. It's been a long time since I've looked this information up. Let's go to our screen grab here, and what is the status of REFS from Microsoft? We're still talking about, hold on. So this is used in servers primarily, and Microsoft wants to bring it into the home operating system, and they were running into some issues, but as you can see, what is REFS? It's next generation file system, similar to like BTRFS. And Windows 11 Pro for workstations apparently supports it, but you're going to have trouble with compatibility. Like if you were to format a flash drive in it, and you tried to read that flash drive on an Apple computer or even a normal Windows 11 or 10 computer, they won't know what it is. So that's the downside. You know, with NTFS being as ubiquitous as it is, that backwards compatibility is really not an issue today. And it's mainly used, just like B-tree file system, in large data sets. So if you've got a few terabytes of storage, which most people don't have. Currently, it doesn't support booting right now, and it's not available in Windows Home or Pro. When was REFS introduced? It's several years old. It's got to be 10 years old. Uh, 2012. Yeah. So the best of my knowledge, they've been trying to make this work with regular installs of Windows. I don't know that they've given up on it and they're going to replace it, but they've been trying. This is a very difficult thing, obviously, for 13 years. What comes after REFS or NTFS? As of now, the resilient file system is still considered the successor to NTFS, but it hasn't fully replaced it, and they've not officially announced a new file system beyond REFS. NTFS was introduced in 1993. and REFS in 2012. So it's not as though they're holding out on you, and it's not as though they're working on anything else. ZFS is kind of the latest thing, and this is for massive storage. So, for example, we say, when is ZFS useful? And it's likely if you have several terabytes or petabytes of storage, massive amounts. ZFS is the zettabyte file system where you're scaling, right? So you're going to go like data centers and stuff where you just have massive I/O demands happening, like people asking Copilot questions all around the world, or Google searches or websites. And we'll see that in home servers and NASs. We're already starting to see it, but you'd need a very large storage pool to really justify ZFS being better than or preferred over B-tree, other than because you want to be different or you think it's cool. But let's just ask, what is the minimum capacity, storage capacity recommended for ZFS? It's got to be massive. This is all RAM's considerations. That's not really answering the question I wanted. That's just to make it work. How can I rephrase this? How big storage requires ZFS? It's likely in like petabytes. ZFS scale, so they're saying 100 terabytes plus. It's ZFS here. It's it supports up to 256 quadrillion zettabytes. Okay. Hey, Mara? Yes? Do you know how much a zettabyte is? How much is a... That's why it's called ZFS. Zettabyte. A zettabyte is, oh boy, 1 sextillion bytes, or 10 to the 21st power. So what is 256 quadrillion zettabytes? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. The human brain. The estimated size of the human brain is around 102 quintillion times larger. Oh, we got a ways to go. ZFS is a 128-bit file system, meaning it can theoretically address up to 256 quadrillion zettabytes. This is a theoretical ceiling and not a practical one. No system today comes close to needing that capacity. Wow. Wow. How does it compare to... Would you like to explore that? Yes. Yes, I would. The point is, just because there's a new file system out doesn't mean it's going to benefit you by having it. If you're not fully utilizing what you've got now, having something better and even more resourceful, it doesn't benefit you because you're not even using all the resources available to what you have. So there's this fixation that a lot of enthusiasts have that newer is better and they like tinkering. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just usually very expensive, and you know, it can be a little troubling getting things up and running because of the learning curve, and also if it's new, right, they're still polishing it. It's not quite yet ready to go. And then, you know, through updates and polishing, they will eventually become a standard when those kind of storage capacities become the norm. So in any event, you know, thank goodness for Copilot. It makes all of this so much easier to educate ourselves on and to continue to explore and educate ourselves to a point where the information is more or less reliable, much easier than any searches because you don't get any of the sponsorships, and that you can continue a dialogue with it instead of a brand new search every time starting from scratch. I strongly encourage you to start using something like that. It could be Gemini, it could be Grok, it could be Copilot. The reason I mention Copilot is if you have a modern computer, Copilot's probably already on it, and if it's not, you can just run it through the Copilot website. So whether it runs locally on a brand new machine or it runs over there, it's still doing the same thing. You're still going to get the same answers. And enjoy it now while it's ad-free and free, because I promise you, it won't be forever. The minute everybody starts using it, it becomes more popular, and you're just going to get started using it, you're going to face ads and you're going to face fees. That's the way it goes. If you don't know that by now, you must be new here. So this is the time to use it. All right, remember log me and rescue? Barry Klein says he used ZFS on his lowly 2 terabyte NVMe and it's useful for backup. You know, Barry, you're talking from experience. I've never used ZFS. I've never needed to. I've never had a shortcoming with NTFS. I don't know how ZFS could benefit me when NTFS isn't leaving me wanting more. So I have a hard time comprehending why I would go through the trouble and effort of learning something where the thing I've got now isn't leaving me wanting. So I've never had any experience with it. I don't need it. On the other hand, I've also never used it. And I've never used it for all those reasons. I like to remain compatible with other systems as a computer technician. People roll into my office with all ages of compute. Excuse me. When you're sitting at home doing your own thing to humor yourself, you don't have any of that accountability or responsibility that I have working on other people's stuff. I can't have some high-end piece of software like a flash drive that their system won't read. I can't say, well, come back when you have USB-C or Thunderbolt 5. I lose the work. So I can't put myself in a proprietary environment, nor would I want to make my life more complex with technical issues going, well, I do it this way on my computer, but I do it this way, like disk management, on all my customers' computers. Now, if my customers all ran ZFS, that'd be a different story. So the difference between you and I is, if you only answer to yourself, you can do whatever you want. I have to answer to other people. I have to do what they want. So we'll agree to disagree. And I'm sure when the day comes and I have an opportunity to use ZFS, it'll probably be something I would use on a NAS, but nothing I would put on my desktop. But you're also probably a Linux user, which I am not. And, you know, that also comes with the territory. And, you know, one goes with the other. And so certain things should be expected. You wouldn't expect that from a Windows user. I would expect it from a Linux user. That's all. I don't see anything uncommon or unexpected there. So Barry says he does have clients that use that. I wouldn't have a client that uses TrueNAS, for example. That's just not a professional, in my opinion, it's not a professional business solution. You're welcome to run your business if you have a business, which I guess you say you are, any way you choose to. I'm not saying you're doing it incorrectly. I can't imagine you can find very many clients compared to how many I can find. So my goal is to stay in business and not have to knock on a lot of doors to get new business by simply using what is the mass majority of use case scenario. It's not insulting anybody or putting anybody down. It's just, if I want work and I want to be able to find it easily. I can't build myself into a little niche like that. You know, you can afford that. I can't afford that. And, you know, thank goodness there's people like you, because that minority of people who need that service probably value you very much, because I don't know any technicians, any real professional technicians that I'm peers with that do what you do. So thank goodness you do it, right? Because I don't know anybody else who does. So the downside, of course, is if customers aren't happy with me, they can go find another technician real easy. There's no shortage of computer techs in fixing Windows and the commonplace. So while it's easier for me to find clients, it's also more difficult for me. Well, let me just say the consequences of upsetting a client are far more severe, because it's not like there's only 2 or 3 people in the area that do what I do. So you may also have that as a benefit, where they might want to tell you to bugger off, but they actually don't know anybody who can do what you do. And I've run into that before. I've run in where customers go, look, we want to get rid of somebody, but we can't get rid of them because we can't find anybody else who does what they do. And I don't have advice for them. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. You get rid of that specialty equipment and go with something more ubiquitous, and your options for techs from the customer side of things are much more varying in both availability, price, and experience. But the minute you go into a vertical niche or niche, you are basically sort of locking yourself into fewer choices, which are usually more expensive. And again, this is just a generalization of business. It doesn't have to be computer repair. If you wanted to be a mechanic who only works on Fiats, you're probably not as busy as the mechanic that works on Fords. That's all. It's not for better or for worse. If that's what the mechanic wants to do, is just work on Fiats, it's his choice or her choice. That's how they want to run their business. I'm not telling you it's wrong. I'm telling you that's not what I do, and I'm telling you that's why. You don't have to see it as a challenge. You don't need to kind of come back at me to correct me. You're misunderstanding the point I'm trying to make. So it's all good. Relax. You're reading fighting words into something that was never intended as fighting words. They're just observations and you know, justifications. You're good. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? We'd be happy to address them, and certainly don't mean to upset anybody. That's not my goal here today. So please know that my intent is always to inform and to clarify. When somebody has a very unique situation, to make sure the audience is aware it's very uncommon. That doesn't make it wrong. All right. I think we can probably just turn this off at this point, because this was at the Windows setup screen. I think we're done with that. And yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. We've just gone over, wow, 2.5 hours already. And you know, look, it was just a Saturday hangout. I am certainly glad to hang out with all of you. And David Graham wants to know if the Intel Ultra CPUs all have graphics. Any Intel CPU made from the last 6 years, if it has the letter F on the name, F as in Frank, that means it does not have graphics on it. So any Intel CPU that has the letter F as in Frank does not have graphics. So if the Intel CPU has the letter F on it, you will need to provide your own graphics card. On the other hand, if you buy an Intel CPU that does not have the letter F on it, it does have built-in graphics, and you can still add your own GPU if you want to. That's been that way for about 6 years. Mark Gaines says, Carey, I've noticed when my son downloads anything on his PC, it shows up on my desktop. Well, it sounds like you've got network sharing turned on. So what I would do is, if it's on your desktop, well, here, let's just turn this back on and I'll just show you. You would just turn sharing off on your desktop, and then that's not an option for your son anymore. What likely happened is it was saved there on purpose, and then every time he's downloading, it's going back to the last location used. So he'll need to change it, or you'll need to change it back to the default downloads folder. The next time you download something, don't just hit save. Select you want it to save in the local downloads folder. And then from that point forward, if no one changes it, it'll go back to always going in the downloads folder, which is how it would have been originally. But the minute someone changes it for your convenience, Microsoft goes back to the last saved place and defaults to that from that point forward until it's changed again. So what I'm going to do when we boot this up is I'm going to go into the setting here, and I'll just show you where it's at. That way, if it's not available, it won't save there. He'll be forced to choose another location. A lot of people, they just hit save. They don't think about where it's going. And a lot of people don't even know where it goes. I open up customers' computers, and in the downloads folder, I'll see the same file with the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 15 times. Because it's not auto-opening and the customer doesn't know where it goes. It should always go to the downloads folder. And it doesn't seem to matter how many times I tell customers this. It just doesn't stick. I don't know what Microsoft can do to make this easier. But with regards to his computer saving on your computer, that's because you've shared that desktop folder. So hopefully this is booted. Let's go take a look and see if we're at the desktop over here. Good, yeah, it's booted. And what I would do, if we go to full screen here for me, let's just get rid of this. Hit continue, and I'll hit skip. And then I'll hit back and skip. Okay, so if you were to go to, let's go to the yellow folder down here. And you'll notice when this comes up, you have a download directory. You also have a desktop. Right-click on that desktop and go to Properties. Then hit your Sharing tab. And this is on your computer, the one that your son is saving files to. Hit Advanced Sharing and make sure Share This Folder has no check. Uncheck it. Hit OK. And I promise you, he won't be saving anything on your desktop ever again unless he's sitting at your computer. Very easy fix. If you want to know any other shares that you might be putting out on your network and you've forgotten, or you're curious, just go to the command prompt. We'll run it as administrator. I don't know that we need to, but I'll just run it as administrator and type in the word net space share. And this will show you all of the shares you have on your computer. So if I want to share something off of this little computer, let's say, for example, I want to share my desktop, which I just showed you how to turn off. If I want to turn that on, I right-click on the folder, I go to the properties of that folder, I go to the sharing tab of that folder, and I want to tell it who I want to share with. I want to share this with everyone, so I don't want a login or a password, so I just type in the word everyone. Unless I want a login and a password. I don't. And I hit the share button. And it says your folder is shared, but it really isn't. I don't know what Microsoft is doing. We'll go to Advanced Sharing, and now we have to check this. Now we're actually sharing it. So I just click OK. And now anybody on the local network can see this desktop folder. Now if I come back here and do another net share, we'll see the desktop folder right there is now being shared. The other thing I can do is just open a browser if I want to see what I'm sharing and type in the IP address of this computer, or say // is it localhost? It's been a while since I've done this. Now, trying to remember // what is the command? Or is it / localhost? No, that's not it either. I can also browse the network, right? I can go to, let's just close all this. We'll go here to the network. I should see this little mini PC on the network. right? Because remember before we saw the NAS, we see the streamer, but we didn't see this machine itself. We weren't sharing anything off of it. Now that I've turned the sharing on, it should appear in our list of computers here. I don't see it. It's definitely not any of these. And it could take a minute before it appears. The other thing I want to make sure of is that I'm not on a public network. If I'm on a public network, it may prevent me from seeing shares or from shares seeing me. So even though we're getting into networking, which far exceeds the question you asked, I'm going to go to Network and Internet Settings, and I'm going to click on my connection here, Ethernet, and make sure I'm on a private network. And I'm going to go back one under Advanced Settings and just make sure that Discovery is turned on. So under Advanced, Discovery's on, File and Printer Sharing's on. For public networks, I want that off. And for all networks, the only one thing I change is password protected sharing. I turn that off only because I want people to access basically as guests. And if I refresh this, maybe now it will appear. I should see that folder. Right click. Where's refresh? Right click, properties. Oh, that's the properties of the TV. I think I need a blank spot. View, it's not view. Show more options. Refresh. All right, let's see if it pulls up. Whatever the name is of this thing. It should show the name, and the name will be, and I can designate a name for it. I can go under System, and then I can go under rename this PC, and we can call this Cyoyan. Save. And then sometimes a reboot is necessary. So we'll reboot it, and then hopefully when it comes up, we'll see that network share. And if we don't want that network share, we just go back to those advanced sharing properties of the folder and just uncheck the box. It's funny because people are often struggling to figure out sharing on a network. It's not often we're trying to tell people how to turn it off, but it's just like people wanting to get data back and the number of people wanting to make sure the data can never get back. It's always one extreme or the other. I accidentally formatted my hard drive. How do I get my stuff back? I want to get rid of my hard drive. How do I wipe it out to make sure no one can get my stuff back? Gilberto Colazo says, thank you, Carey. Thank you, Gilberto. And let me take another look here just to see if that works like I expect it to. We'll go back over to the chat room. Just click on folder. We'll go to network and we'll see if Cyoyan appears up here. It's possible it's not seeing itself. I wonder if I can see it from the streamer. Maybe if I just go to the yellow folder here on the streamer, then click on the network, do I see it? Not so far. It's usually no more difficult than that. Maybe I need to do a video on how to set up a Windows network share properly versus just kind of running off the cuff. Because there might be a part I'm skipping that's not occurring to me. I think I've done everything right. I think that's all there is. But it's not showing up here, so I must be missing a step. But regardless, if we don't want to share that anymore, I would right-click on the desktop, properties, sharing. It does show it's shared. That's the network path right there. I mean, in theory, if I type that in, that should just take me there. Let me see what happens. Yeah, it's working. I just don't know why it's not browsing to it. Interesting. But if I want to turn that off, I just go to advanced, uncheck that box. And now no one on the network can access it. That way nobody can save stuff. And remember, I can adjust if people can read only or if I'm allowing them to delete and change files. And this is really critical when we're dealing with offices and things like NASs. And we need people to have permission to access files and work together, sort of as a team. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me get back over to the chat here. John Downey wants to know, how fast is Ethernet over power? Mine is slow. Yeah, Ethernet over power is very, 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 very slow. It is probably the slowest type of networking you can have in 2025. I'm not aware of anything any slower. It's very, very slow. Today's modern wireless routers are much, much faster, far more secure, far more reliable. But if you asked me that question 10 or 15 years ago, it wasn't too bad. But it really hasn't kept up. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, power over, or Ethernet over power is, it's a better than nothing solution. But if you have Wi-Fi available, at least modern, anything Wi-Fi 5 or better is going to be much, much faster than Ethernet over power, far more reliable. Yeah, it's by comparison to today's Wi-Fi standards, I don't know anybody would be using it today. Now, I know our friend Mitch still uses it, and I keep telling him he needs to go to Wi-Fi. He's got a good Wi-Fi router, but his attitude is it works. He's got no complaints, so he ain't changing it. And that's fine. I'm surprised it works as well as it does for him, but it's redundant because if he would switch over to Wi-Fi, it wouldn't be worse. And even if it were better, he probably wouldn't notice it, but the likelihood of having to deal with an issue in the future would be reduced. On the other hand, he could say, I'm not dealing with any issues now, so why would I have issues in the future? I don't know. It just happens. No idea. So it still may be enough for some people, but for me, I wouldn't use it. Way too slow. Gary Weisenberger said he went driving on I-75 in his new Mustang. He waited a year to get less than 1,500 miles semi-kicked rock into screen. Oh, that's painful. But at least it's a windshield that's easy to change. David Graham says, what if sync is installed and the shortcuts will display on all the computers? Oh, that's a good point. If you have a Microsoft account, if you're logging into the same Microsoft account on both computers, then anything you save on your desktop will appear on the other computers. It won't just be one way, like he said. When his son saved things, it shows up on his desktop. But he didn't say when he saved things, it also shows up on his son's desktop. So it doesn't sound like his son has a desktop. It sounds like David has two desktops and his son uses one of them. But he's calling it his son's desktop when in fact it's not. Who's ever logged into the Microsoft account, that's whose desktop it is. So if you're logged into the same Microsoft account with the same user on two different computers, then both of those desktops belong to that sign-in account. That may be the confusion. Mark Gaines says, Carey, that answers my question. Thank you for the explanation. Yeah, I hope so. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to ask. John Paul Bacon says, I still like Ethernet over Wi-Fi. Yeah, we pretty much are Wi-Fi on everything, except to the NAS, to the main machine that does the video editing. That's a direct connect, hardwired connection. The Wi-Fi we have is as fast as, when you see that our Wi-Fi mesh, it's as fast as a 2.5 gig LAN cable. It's just as fast. 2.5 times faster than a 1 gig wired LAN cable. 2.5 times faster on wireless Wi-Fi 7. Using a Wi-Fi 7 router and 2 Wi-Fi 7 devices connected to that router transfers data 2.5 times faster than a standard 1 gig LAN cable. Now our standard 1 gig LAN cables are standard 10 gig LAN cables, and we only use them where that's necessary. Our internet's nowhere near that fast, and we have so much stuff, you know, from the garage door opener, the door locks, motion lights and cameras. Everything's connected wirelessly now. Everything, appliances, dishwasher, washing machine, all connected to Wi-Fi. You wouldn't run a cable. Even if you could, you wouldn't. Televisions are all Wi-Fi. We don't hardline our televisions. They're all Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is so fast. It's much, much faster than a TV can pull. So at least now, when we start going 8K or 16K, we probably have to get new televisions that can display that before we worry about, well, speed, how fast the internet is. So faster isn't always better, and slower isn't always worse. It just depends on, you know, if you're asking, is Ethernet over power slower? I'm guessing you're asking because you're experiencing some slowness. And yeah, that's probably, without knowing anything more, that's enough. You probably nailed it. Jason H88 is now a member for 38 months. Says, hello, Carey. I just acquired a laptop with Windows 8 on it. Can I still upgrade to Windows 10 for free? I was going to donate it to my church. I think, let's go to Copilot and ask. Let me go over to share the screen. Can I still upgrade when Windows 8 to 10 for free? As of 2025, the official upgrade offer from Windows 8.1 to Windows 10 has ended, but there's still a chance it might work, but it's not guaranteed. It ended on September 20th of 2023, and that was both for Windows 7 and 8 to go to 10. However, some users report sporadic success activating it using an old Windows 8.1 license. So maybe. I mean, the good news is you can always buy a Windows 10 license very, very inexpensively from our friends over at SCD Keys, which, you know, I can't tell you with enough emphasis what a great savings it is. I think today it's about $17, maybe $15 for the home version of Windows 10, and you're good for the life of the computer for like 15 bucks. We've got links using the coupon code Carey. I think it's $17 for the Pro. It's like $15 for the home version of Windows 10. And then if for some reason it doesn't accept the upgrade, you just simply buy a key for less than the cost of lunch that's valid for the rest of the life of that computer, just so you know. And we appreciate the folks at SCD Key extending basically the offer that I pay as a business to my audience. So I hope you guys take advantage of it. And they support the product for 6 months. So if you have any problems with the product key, should you need to buy one, reach out to their support for help. If for any reason you're not getting the help you need, then reach out to us. But it's been a long time since anybody's had any issues that SCD Key couldn't resolve on their own, much, much faster than getting us involved. But I just want you to know, you have peace of mind. You know, there's no rolling the dice with this. They're a reputable seller selling a legitimate product. So worst case scenario, it's like 15 bucks. LRCX wants to know, how can I tell if I'm signed into my Microsoft account? Let's go back over to Copilot. How can I tell if I am signed in to my Microsoft account? Open settings, Go to Accounts and click Show Account, or click Accounts. So Settings, which is Windows key plus the I key, or click the Start menu and go to Settings. Under Settings, go to Accounts. Let's see if we do this over here. Let's go to this machine. Let's see if we can follow along. Settings. First, let me make the screen big. Settings, right here. Over to Accounts, right here. And it says to click right here. Sign in to get the most, or this should tell you here. Let me go back and see what else it says now that we've made it that far. What does it say? Under your info, you'll see your name and email. If it says local account, you're not signed in. So did ours say local account? Right here, it says user and it says local account. That's how we know we're not signed in. So I hope that answers your question. Can we stump Copilot today? Because unless you can stump Copilot, you cannot stump me. Oh, there we go. I never use a Microsoft account, so I never even wondered how to check that. Good question. Shabir in the chat said they upgraded to Windows 10 from Windows 8 and his activation code worked. It carried over. Yeah, I think you're just going to have to roll the dice on it and see. Yeah, let us know if that works for you, Jason. I'm kind of curious myself. So I think that'll wrap it up for today. 3 hours, that's good. I really like hanging out with you guys and sharing our discussion and taking your questions, because sometimes you guys ask questions I never thought of before. And I haven't had any cause in my business to exercise those solutions, right? Because I'm not experiencing and I'm just sort of unaware, or it doesn't matter to me. When you ask and you say, hey, could you answer this? It's a great opportunity for me to have some experience that otherwise I wouldn't have. Knowing the answers like the ZFS or, synchronized accounts with logins versus network shares. I will say the networking stuff, that's every ordinary day for me, but Microsoft accounts, not so much. I don't know any customers, I don't have any that knowingly use Microsoft accounts. When we run into it and we ask the client why they're doing it, they say almost 100%. They say they're not aware of ever setting that up. So sometimes we undo that for them, because once we show them what it's doing, more times than not, they don't like that. So we had a client that had a PC upgrade and all the data files wouldn't let me copy onto their new machine. And I was puzzled. I'm like, what's going on? It never asked for a sign, and it boots right up to the desktop. Turns out all the files were on Microsoft Drive. And I'm like, when did you start using Microsoft Drive? He said, we don't. I said, no, you do. I can't pull your data off. It's there on the desktop and I can pull it. But for me to copy it off of there, it's got to download it from Microsoft OneDrive, and it's going to take a while. You got a lot of stuff on there. Well, I never set it up. I'm like, well, I didn't set it up. Just telling you. Well, let me ask my husband. He uses the computer. I say, what's your husband's email address? She gives it to me and I type it in. That's not it. And she says, my husband has an email address for work. Okay, so now we have 3 separate accounts that we have to try and figure out which of the 3 accounts is associated to the Microsoft OneDrive. It's got to be one of the 3. And the husband's work account is the one that let us in. Well, he says he never did anything with that. Right. Look, I don't care. I just want to finish the job. Do you want me to leave it like this? Oh, God, no. Please don't leave it like that. That's terrible. I go, okay, no problem. We will disconnect that account on the new machine. We'll just copy the data over the way you thought it was, and we're good to go. So they're confused. I'm confused. I don't run into that too often. Thanks to Mara, of course, for all the work she does on our video thumbnails and our descriptions. As a reminder, you can pick up these USB to Ethernet adapters. They're very inexpensive. I do plan to do the unboxing and setup cleanly, without all of the obstacles I encountered on the first go around. And that'll be another video. Tomorrow, we're just going to finish this. I think what I've concluded about all this is that basically there's a lot of right ways to do this. I'm disappointed that Thermaltake's products don't fit better. I expect a Thermaltake monitor that fits into a Thermaltake case to come with the cable that it needs, and it didn't. I expect a Thermaltake cooler that's painted to match the case to go in this case to fit without having to force it in, and it doesn't. I just wanted to make sure that's right. And according to Thermaltake, that's right. And according to me, it ain't right. I expect if you're making parts that are meant to go together, they should all fit together. We ran into the same problem with the Asus ProArt build, where the ProArt case and the ProArt motherboard, which are two very expensive parts, leave us short a USB header on the board. And when I asked Asus, I go, look, your expensive high-end board and expensive high-end case do not work together. They share the same name, they're in the same family, they come from the same company. One would expect they fit together. They don't fit together without a third-party solution. And they said, oh, that's because we changed it. Well, maybe some disclosure when I'm purchasing the parts, instead of me going, what am I doing wrong here? Why is this not, why am I short a USB port? Oh yeah, we only put one USB port on the new boards going forward. Well, then why does the case still need two? Well, we didn't have this problem on previous boards. I'm not building with a previous board. So when a company, when I'm buying all the same product from a company, I'm not doing that out of loyalty. I'm doing it so the paint matches and there should be no fitment issues. So when I'm having fitment issues, I can't help but wonder if I would have bought somebody else's cooler, like literally anyone else's, it would have fit in here better than their own. It just wouldn't have been paint matched. So what am I doing? If I would not have paid the $90 for the screen I don't need, I wouldn't have any issues with the cable not fitting because I would never need the cable. Well, why doesn't the cable fit from your own screen to your own case? Well, that's because we changed the cable and you just got, an older one. I bought it brand new. Yeah, but it was the latest ones. They come with a little L bracket. Why weren't they like that the whole time? Oh, didn't need it. It couldn't have hurt. So like they're making changes and then they're reacting to their own changes instead of thinking forward and being ready for those changes coming. And as a result, as a consumer, when I'm buying all that particular brand thinking, sure, I'm spending more, but it all will fit, it'll all lock in like it's meant to go. And then it doesn't, and it doesn't on Asus, and it doesn't on Thermaltake. What is the point? At this point now, I should have gotten my own screen solution. I'd have been done by now. Probably would have cost me less. If I put anybody else's cooler in here, it probably would have gone easy, just not their own. That's the irony of it. And I paid extra. So, that's what a dummy I am. As you can imagine, I'm not happy about it. I don't like how this goes together, and I don't like how Thermaltake goes, yeah, that's what it's supposed to do, is bend the crap out of that hose and put all that pressure where it attaches to the radiator, because we didn't put swivels on it, and we didn't put a cutout in the case for it, but we absolutely made it to fit in this case. No, you didn't. That's where the debate is. You did not, because if you did, I wouldn't have any problems. It would all fit confidently without forcing it. So my attitude on Thermaltake has changed now. I used to think low of them as being cheap. Then I thought they're actually getting better, and now they've gone back down to where they were. They've just recessed backwards to where they were, in my mind, regarding quality and value. At the end of the day, it's a good looking case. It's just not a very smart design. So when I watch these YouTubers making videos praising this case, I'm just shaking my head going, no. Either maybe they didn't hook the screen up. Maybe they think forcing things is okay. It's not okay. Not when it's all made by the same company, intended for the same build. That's not okay. I'm going to see it differently than they see it. And I don't know why they're choosing to only see the positive without highlighting these issues. But I'm not playing that game. I'm straight up and honest with you. That ain't right. It's not good. When it's done, it'll be fine. But the reason it's not yet done isn't on me. If everything was the way it should be, this would have already been built. So that's what's got me upset. It's not like I could have done anything any differently other than choose a different manufacturer for my parts. That's where I screwed up. But ask me how I really feel. Guys, thank you so much for being members. Thanks for hanging out. We certainly appreciate everybody joining us today. I do plan to continue this tomorrow now that I understand that's just the way it's going to be. And by the way, I can always send this back and the case back and we can start a third time. I really don't want to start over a third time and start all over again. You know, choose something other than a Thermaltake case. We've already sent back the G-Skill case and those power supplies as being not good enough. I really thought from all the positive reviews and what I'm reading about this case that they were honest. They're not honest, or they're very limited in scope, that they're not covering the issues. For whatever reason, they're not talking about it. So I didn't know, I wasn't warned. And now I'm right back in the same position of working in a case that is not accommodating. And I always know a mini ITX case is going to be a challenge. And I'm trying to minimize that struggle by sticking with one manufacturer for a lot of the components. And even that didn't work. At some point, just want to scream, like, what more can I do than just toss out the whole mini ITX idea and just build a regular micro or full-size ATX? But I have lots of those here. I don't need another one. So I am dead set that I'm going to make this work, but I am not happy with how much pressure is going to be on that hose. And I don't know what that's going to do to my long-term use. But there's one way to find out. And then when it happens, I'll say, this is why it wasn't acceptable. This hose is going to break. It's going to leak. Something's going to happen. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I can almost guarantee that amount of pressure, it's not good. That where this hose connects to this radiator is not meant to have that kind of pressure on it 24/7. It will eventually give. I don't know when, but that's not how it was built to withstand that kind of pressure over that period of time. So we'll find out. You'll see. And you know how I'm going to fix it? Using somebody else's brand of cooler, not Thermaltake's, because that does not fit in the case correctly. In fact, I think I saw some builds where they were using the smaller Thermaltake. They were using the 240. The 240 will fit in here much nicer. So if this 280 doesn't fit, they should not be saying it's going to fit. It doesn't. If I'd have gone with the smaller cooler, the 240, it probably would have fit fine, based on what I'm seeing on YouTube. But we do have a 9950 X3D chip in there. Would a 240 be enough to keep it cool? So I really wanted the bigger cooler because I have the highest end consumer processor on the market from AMD today. They don't make a more expensive one. This is as powerful and as expensive as they make for consumers in 2025. Right now, in July of 2025, it's a $700 CPU. It's going to get hot. It's going to need a pretty big cooler. So maybe don't build the hottest CPU in the smallest case, Carey? Things fit like they should. Shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, Thermaltake's not on my favorite list. I still have not heard back from their RMA department. We're on 5 days now since I've opened an RMA request, and it still says my request is being reviewed with no updates. So is it going to be a month? Am I going to hear back on Monday? Your guess is as good as mine. Larry says, what about cutting into the motherboard tray that's hitting the hose? Oh, I was up last night thinking about that. And nothing a Sawzall can't fix. But I'm going to have those rough edges, and I'm afraid with the liquid vibrating through the hoses, that's going to eat right through this over time. I don't have a machine shop, and that's definitely not my skill. So if there was a Sawzall and we could cut into the support bracket here just about that much for the hose to go in there, it would relieve all the pressure on the hose. It would also kind of ruin the integrity of the motherboard tray, but I don't really think it's that important. Honestly, I don't think there'd be any downside. Why it wasn't built from the factory like this, I don't understand. And usually when you're cutting into metal like this, they fold over the corners so that you don't cut your hands. The nice case is they bend the corners in. Or you can get a file and really file it down. This is just not my skill. If I did it, it would look like a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old did it with a crayon, you know. It's not gonna look good. And I'm afraid the edges are gonna be dangerously sharp. So, you know, I thought about it. It's a very easy fix, and that makes it even more unacceptable why it wasn't already engineered for this. What were they thinking? But I appreciate the suggestion. Arnold says, well, I guess that's the price you pay for going all out. Apparently, yeah. Patrick said he's been using a Microsoft account since 2008. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're aware of it. The issue is when people don't know. It's not obvious. When Larry has to ask, how can I tell? He doesn't even know. So Microsoft could do a better job with transparency and making sure customers are aware. I mean, I'm glad you're aware, but some people don't know. That's the issue. It's not the account itself that's the problem. It's that lack of transparency of making it clear. John Paul Bacon said he'd have no problem using a 240 radiator on a 9950 X3D. Well, I've never had a 9950 X3D. I don't know how hot it'll get. I know it can never get too cool. And I do know from watching other build videos, the 240 radiator does fit in here a lot easier. But I've already bought this. I've already installed it. Now I'm just being stubborn. If I return any more stuff to Amazon, I might as well just move into the UPS store. LRCX, you can use tin snips. Put tape over the ends. We've got $1,400 into this. I don't think I'm going to use tin snips. I don't even have tin snips. I don't even know what those are. I don't even know how I'd get enough leverage to close the tin skip when I've got to get between the lid and the top of the tray. Maybe I can access it with this out, but I'd only be able to open it just so far. You would have to have really long handles to get enough leverage to get through that metal. And I'm not going to go buy a pair of tin snips for that purpose. I mean, I appreciate the suggestion, but no. If Thermaltake says that putting that much pressure on that hose is no problem, let's find out if that's true or not. As somebody who understands basic engineering, you see on this, see how these swivel? All they had to do was put these swivels on there. This would be a non-issue. They wouldn't even have to make a change to the case. So why didn't they do this on both ends? And they say, they insist that that fits, and that any struggle you have to force it is no problem. They didn't tell me that when I bought it. Rupin says those GMK Tech minis look so good. The Intel one has a bare bone version, unlike the AMD one. Which model of GMK Tech are you talking about? John Williams says, I love my tin snips, good for many different applications. I guess I've gone through my whole life with ever using tin snips. I don't know what those are. Is anything made of tin anymore? Look on Amazon. They still make. Okay, metal cutting shears, they don't call them. Oh yeah, there's somebody still calling it a tin snip. There you go. I'm like, when did they ever made tin? Let's see, aviation tins. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just looking at Amazon and I see what they look like now. And I most definitely do not have, and I have a lot of tools. I don't have any tools like that. Never have I had tools like this in my life. It's just, I would use a Sawzall. I have that. That'll get through it. But no, we're not going to go that way. I'm not going to hack a brand new piece. That's nonsense. If I was building something out of a garage with used parts, you know, Frankensteining it, that's one thing. I'm trying to be professional, guys. And that's just not professional. That's custom mod work, which to me, this is hacking. And I don't mean hacking like code hacking. I mean hacking like with a machete. I wouldn't want a surgeon to hack on me. You know what I'm saying? So this is a brand new machine and it's very expensive, and I just don't want to hit it with a pair of cutters. I just find that to be unprofessional. But that's me. That's my own sort of way I see things. You might do it. I wouldn't do it. And I also know I wouldn't do it good. That is definitely not a skill you want me to do. If you've seen the quality of my cuts, you would never want me to cut anything again. Nothing's straight, nothing's even. It's just not in me. Whatever that skill is, if I draw a circle, it will not look like a circle. I'm not an artist. That much I know. John Williams said they're usually used for air conditioning technician. Yeah, I could see if you're putting ductwork in and stuff like that. That makes total sense. Ruben says the Evo ones, the T1 is Intel and the X2 is AMD. GMK Tech Evo. Let's see. GMK Tech Evo Intel. Oh, I see what you're talking about. So the problem with this computer, as I understand it, is it's very loud. The fans are very loud. It's also probably, if not the ugliest mini PC I've ever seen in my life, definitely in the top 3. Part of the reason it's so loud is because of how they made it so small that the fans cannot have the width and therefore have to spin faster in order to keep this high-end machine running acceptably cool. So if you look at any reviews on this, I think you will universally hear people complain about how loud it is. In fact, if we look at the ratings, the fan gets really loud. Yeah. So there's no question it's powerful, but what I hear over and over and over again is how loud it is. And here, what's this one say? Drive damaged. Well, that may not be their fault. That could be the shipping. And I can't see any more reviews. Okay. The good news is we're going to see a lot more competitive models. This is obviously not the same machine here. I just think it's ugly. I can't get past why it looks so 1955. It's just very outdated looking. So, you know, that's the part I'm going to look at, right? And I also don't like that it's loud. And I also don't like that it's over $1,000. I do feel like there are better options from Minis Forum that are cheaper, run just as fast, if not faster. Like this is the AI9 HX370. That's in the Minis Forum NAS. Like, you think that's a high-end chip? Imagine that in a NAS. So the 395 or the Halo Strix from AMD, that's the latest and greatest. But I've got to say, it's the looks of it that really put me off. LPDDR5 means the RAM is soldered on. Well, this is the Ryzen. Where's the Evo? The Intel. It says Ryzen, but this says Intel. Did I click on the wrong one? What is this? No, those are Nook boxes. Those aren't. So this is the Miniswarm 1290. That's Ryzen. 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 I don't think they make an Intel version. Oh, the Evo T1. Maybe this is what you're referring to. The brand new, the 200 series and the Ultra. That chip just came out, so you know that's going to be expensive. Oh, that's not bad looking at all. That's much better. Much better. It's got USB 4, but no Thunderbolt at this price. That's way too much money. I don't know who can afford to buy a $2,600 mini PC, but it's nobody I know. I'm not even sure I'd pay $1,300 for it. With a 2 terabyte drive and 64 gigs of RAM, that's more than double what it should cost. But the RAM is socketable. It's got 3 Gen 4 slots. That's pretty cool. This might be a good machine. I don't know. It's certainly something to keep an eye on, but not at that price. It'd have to come down by 50% before I could even think about it. I hadn't seen that before today, so I appreciate you pointing it out. Doesn't look like it's even going to be available till next month. It's not even out yet. Could be 2 months before you get it. So this looks more like a pre-order. Probably no reviews on it since they don't exist. Let's see, scroll down. Any reviews? No, that doesn't exist yet. All right, well, I prefer to review things that actually exist. I know it's going to, but when? And what else will come out between now and then? What's Miniswarm going to have? Miniswarm might have something faster or equivalent for half the price before that even arrives. I mean, how will we know until we wait and see? But that looks a lot better, much better design. So I will give them that. Patrick T says, what do you think of the Black Lotus Secure Boot Rootkit security hole? I don't know what you're talking about. What is it? Hold on, let me ask. Let's ask. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. Unless you're an enterprise admin or security expert, Microsoft does not recommend manual revocation of the Windows product on CA 2011 certificate for most users at this time. Why is the revocation risky? It's irreversible, can create boot failures, can force your BitLocker into recovery mode. Some devices, especially older ARM-based ones, may fail to apply updates due to firmware limitations. The recommended action is wait for Microsoft's full patch rollout. Microsoft plans to enforce these mitigations through future updates with full enforcement expected by the end of 2026. So clearly this is nothing to be worried about. It's a concern, but it's not an immediate threat that we're worried about. That's why Microsoft is saying, look, in a business case and government and regulated case, that's one thing. But for home users, it's really nothing you need to worry about. Not yet, anyway. It is a threat. It is real, but it's not very probable. It's not likely that you would be affected by it, at least not at this time. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. That sounds about right. That's probably why I haven't heard of it. It doesn't really affect me or what I do. At least that's my theory. All right, guys. So again, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. We did stay a little bit longer to address your questions, which I really appreciate. And that's going to wrap it up for me for today. If you're interested in this build, watch yesterday's video where we go through it, and the video notes contain all the listing of parts there. That is it. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to our friends at SCD Keys. If you want to reach out to us and talk to us, you can do so via email by sending an email right here to this address. We're always happy to hear from you. Also, we have our bulletin boards at CareyHolzman.boards.net if you want to interact with each other on our forums. That's all free, always open. And of course, we're back tomorrow live as we continue our build, starting at 1 o'clock, the usual time. That's currently Pacific time. We're in the Pacific time during this time of year. So 1 o'clock in California is the same as Phoenix. And the West Coast, 1 o'clock. For everybody else, you can adjust your clocks accordingly. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of your support, your contributions. I appreciate hanging out and chatting with y'all. And I want to shout out the contribution we got earlier, which was from, Mortant. Thank you to Mortant for the Amazon gift card. We really appreciate it. And looks like we have an email here from Barry. Yeah, absolutely. We'll chat sometime. Just understand that's just not my line of work. What you do isn't what I do. I'm not telling you again what you're doing is wrong. It's just I don't want to do what you do. I'm not interested. If I had a channel on Linux, or if I had a channel on open source NAS, if we did this sort of home lab or enterprise level, there's already other channels that do all that, Barry. So that's why I don't want to do that. I want to do what is most common. I don't care about what's possible. I care about what are the actual problems the average person and average business that I service has. That's the focus of my content. And so if you're interested in content more aligned to the stuff you do, I wouldn't tell you to expect that here. That's never been our MO here. We're always just an extension of my business and what I'm doing. And if you want to make a channel and show the extension of your business and what you're doing, I would love to watch it. But I don't necessarily want to do what you do, right? So we're clear. I'd still love chatting with you, though, nonetheless. So thank you all for watching, and thank you for your conversation and your friendship. Thank you to all the members who make these videos possible. I will see you all again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I hope you'll join me. Until then, bye for now.